Chapter 660. Brother Yang, do you have to be so ruthless? Don't you think you're going too far? Ning Guodong said in a low voice. I'm not an official like you, and I don't have to care about my manners. Since you think I'm a hooligan, of course I'll take revenge, Yang Cheng said. This is not Zhonghai, this is Yinjing. The threat in Ning Guodong's words was obvious. In Yinjing, the power of the Ning family was not to be trifled with. Yang Cheng spread out his hands and sighed with a smile. When we look at certain things, our starting point is completely different. You're comparing Zhonghai to Yinjing, but in my eyes, as long as it's on this earth, I don't care. Many onlookers shook their heads and whispered. Most of them felt that Yang Cheng was too arrogant. Many of them were waiting for the show to begin. Li Dun winked at Yang Cheng and gave him a thumbs up. Choi Yun bit her lower lip and widened her eyes in anticipation. Only Kai Ning frowned slightly. She was a little confused and a little worried. The manager of the club was sweating profusely. He didn't dare to maintain order or say a word. These rich heirs were not people he could afford to offend. He could only pray that there would be no more violence. Ning Guodong's facial muscles tightened. Yang Cheng, do you really think that I'll be afraid of you just because you're a member of the Yang family? In Yinjing, I can do much more than you can imagine. I think you've misunderstood. This has nothing to do with the Yang family. Yang Cheng shook his finger. Besides, I hate being threatened the most. Of course, Ning Guodong wouldn't apologize. Being looked down upon in public, his arrogance was ignited. He snorted and said, Dream on. For Brother Li's sake, I won't argue with you. Also, let me tell you, if I have the chance, I will go to Zhonghai to pursue Ruashi. I will never give up. What can you do? Ning Guodong was also irritated. He was too lazy to think too much about it. So he spoke out the part of his dissatisfaction with Yang Cheng. This man, who was incomparably vulgar to him, had so many beautiful women by his side. Moreover, he was also Lin Ruashi's husband. It was really intolerable. Yang Cheng's face turned cold, and he said with an evil smile, This is what you really want to say. Ning Guodong's expression was a little ferocious. So what if I am? Sooner or later, I will snatch the woman I want. The people around them didn't understand, but Kai Ning and Choi Yun knew what Ning Guodong meant. The two girls also came to a sudden realization. No wonder Yang Cheng wouldn't let go of Ning Guodong. This guy was openly pursuing Lin Ruashi. After saying that, Ning Guodong waved his hand, planning to lead Yin Bushue and the others to their reserved seats. But he had barely taken 2 steps when Ning Guodong suddenly felt a horrifying pressure engulfing his entire body in an earth-shattering manner. Ning Guodong felt the bones in his body being squeezed down, especially his legs. It was as if they couldn't bear it anymore and became a heavy burden. Cough, cough. Ning Guodong gasped with difficulty, and his face was red. No matter how hard he tried to resist, he couldn't control his body. Slowly, he leaned forward and knelt down. In the end, Ning Guodong couldn't hold his breath anymore, and his knees buckled. He propped himself up with his hands and knelt on the ground. Everyone around them cried out in shock. They couldn't believe that Ning Guodong would kneel down for no reason. Yang Cheng got up from his seat and said indifferently, Since you can't speak, then kneel down as an apology. Also, don't have any improper thoughts, or it won't be as simple as kneeling down. After that, Yang Cheng walked straight out of the club. The crowd automatically made way for him, and no one dared to make a sound. Only the moving music was still echoing on the dance floor. Of course, Li Dun and the Kai sisters weren't in the mood to stay and play, so they left with Yang Cheng. It wasn't until Yang Cheng walked out of the club that the heavy burden on Ning Guodong's body relaxed, and he could breathe normally again. After a long time, Ning Guodong stood up from the ground. The people around him almost didn't dare to look at his face, as if he was in a dark shadow, and it was chilling. After leaving the club, Yang Cheng wasn't in a good mood. He told Li Dun to go home, and brought Kai Ning and Choi Yun back to the Kai family. This time, Kai Ning sat in the passenger seat and looked at the silent Yang Cheng. She said softly, You deliberately went against Ning Guodong. According to your character, you should have taught Yin Bushue a lesson first, but you obviously went against Ning Guodong. Yang Chang took a deep breath and nodded. It seems like you know me very well. Why? Is it because he wants to pursue Ruashi? Kai Ning asked. Yang Chang smiled bitterly. If there were other men who wanted to pursue you, I wouldn't have gone easy on them. I targeted Ning Guodong because I wanted to hear his true thoughts. Since he hasn't given up on that idea, it means that many things are not over yet. I don't understand. You don't have to be afraid of Ning Guodong at all. Even if he likes Ruashi, you won't be able to compete with him. Kai Ning said doubtfully. Yang Cheng shook his head and smiled. You'll understand a lot of things in the future. He's not an ordinary rival in love. He shouldn't exist. Yang Cheng did deliberately make things difficult for Ning Guodong, and his purpose was obvious. He wanted to confirm if Ning Guodong knew the truth about Lin Ruashi being his half-sister. From the looks of it, Ning Guangyao didn't say it out loud. Moreover, Yang Cheng needed to know whether Ning Guodong had given up or not. With such a rival in love around, he might do something dangerous in the future. Yang Cheng knew that although Lin Ruashi looked cold on the outside, she could tolerate Lin Kuan's rotten father and name in every possible way. It could be seen that in Lin Ruashi's heart, her family was extremely important. This was also the reason why Ning Guangyao didn't dare to admit their relationship back then, which made Lin Ruashi so upset. Then it was very likely that even if Ning Guodong did something overboard in the future, Lin Ruashi wouldn't be so heartless towards him and wouldn't easily let him get rid of this hidden danger for her. Yang Cheng could accept that there were countless people who hated him, but he couldn't accept that there was a gap between the person he loved and him. This time, he made a fool of Ning Guodong in public, which could be considered as pushing their relationship to the forefront. However, Yang Cheng felt that rather than letting Ning Guodong continue to lurk in the dark, it was better to make things difficult for him. If Ning Guodong wanted to take revenge, perhaps it would give him a chance to openly end him. When the car was about to reach the Kai family's house, Yang Cheng asked Kai Ning, Ning what's the date today? Without waiting for Kai Ning to answer, Choi Yun quickly said, It's May 3rd. Everyone is having a Labor Day holiday, so Ning Guodong and the others have time to go there play today. I can also easily take leave to come back. But why are you asking about the date? Yang Cheng nodded thoughtfully and muttered to himself, That's fast. I really have to go back early. Choi Yun sat in the back and didn't hear what Yang Cheng was muttering. She only thought that Yang Cheng was thinking of some trick. Suddenly, she thought of something and shouted excitedly, Bad guy, you can't touch sister at night. Sister is on her period these days. Hearing this, Yang Cheng almost stepped on the gas pedal instead of the brake pedal. Kai Ning, on the other hand, blushed. She turned around and glared at her sister. What nonsense are you thinking, Yin Yin? Choi Yun suddenly realized that Yang Cheng probably didn't know about Kai Ning's period. Of course, that day wouldn't be that interesting. Who asked him to be so naughty? I thought he wanted to do something. Choi Yun lowered her head shyly and felt a little sorry for Kai Ning. Yang Cheng's dantian was lit up by Choi Yun's words. He licked his lips and smiled. Yonyan, you reminded me. But it's okay. Ning is on her period. Don't you still have you? When Kai Yin heard that, her heartbeat sped up. Even if she was generous and hot, she was a little shy to talk about this topic in front of Kai Ning. Kai Ning didn't dare to listen anymore. She closed her eyes and rested, but her ears were burning red. When the car stopped outside the Kai family's courtyard, the three of them got out. Choi Yun still lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng obviously planned to stay in her house. If he really came to find her at night, would she agree to it? Choi Yun was nervous and expectant. On the other side, Kai Ning was even more complicated. She had just broken the window paper with Yang Cheng. Now that she thought about it carefully, she realized that there were so many embarrassing things that might happen next. And her sister seemed to have a relationship with this shameless guy. How should she treat it? Yang Cheng saw the strangeness of the sisters and held back his laughter. He was already looking forward to going to Choi Yun's room to do what he wanted to do. But before he entered the room, his phone suddenly vibrated. He took it out and saw that it was a call from his subordinate, Zhuang Feng. Yang Cheng picked it up immediately since it was so late at night. It must be an emergency. Bad news, Director. Zhuang Feng didn't even greet him and said anxiously, Miss Lin Hui is in trouble. Chapter 661. Yang Cheng's heart skipped a beat. It had only been a day since he last saw Zhuang Feng, but he still reprimanded him. Why are you panicking? Get to the point. Zhuang Feng realized that he had lost control of his emotions. He quickly adjusted himself and tried his best to calm down and explain what had happened. It turned out that Huilin was supposed to go to a media company in Beijing tonight to participate in the discussion meeting before the shooting of the MV of the new album's title song. Huilin wasn't very good at performing, so she didn't plan to appear in the MV. She was only going to participate in the discussion meeting as a singer. The meeting was mainly attended by a famous local director, Luo Sheng, and a young female model named Lu Zishan. Lu Zishan just happened to meet the requirements of a fresh and pretty MV. She was also the champion of a model competition in the North China region. She needed a breakthrough to enter the entertainment industry, so she had her eye on Huilin's new song, which had been very popular for the past month. Everything was going smoothly. By the time the discussion on the MV's production process was completed, it was already nighttime. The staff were either rushing home or out for dinner. However, as it was the first time that Huilin had met these people, she was very nervous during the discussion. She wanted to go to the washroom, but she did not dare to do so. It was not until the meeting was over and almost everyone had left that Huilin went to the washroom of the company. However, just as she was about to go out and meet up with her colleagues, Huilin heard some discordant voices outside the meeting room. Listening carefully, Huilin realized that it was the director, Luo Sheng, who wanted to rape the model, Lu Zishan. Although Huilin was embarrassed about such things, she felt that she should help Lu Zishan escape from the devil's clutches. So she immediately rushed into the room, ignoring the fact that Lu Zishan had already taken off her clothes. She directly kicked the director, Luo Sheng, who was pouncing on her, away. How could Luo Sheng be a match for Huilin? Before he could react, he was kicked twice by Huilin, knocking him against the wall twice. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He almost fainted. This change caused Lu Zishan, who was pressed on a conference table, to scream, which attracted many people back to the conference room. When many of the staff and security guards arrived at the conference room, they did not understand what had happened. Lu Zishan was already dressed, and director Luo Sheng was lying on the ground. He looked like he was half dead and was in a very sorry state. When the staff helped Luo Sheng up, he pointed at Huilin and started scolding her. He told everyone that it was Huilin who barged in and beat him up for no reason, and that he was discussing the script with Lu Zishan. In this situation, although many people knew the truth, no one would say it out loud. Of course, Huilin tried to defend herself. She claimed that it was director Luo Sheng who had tried to rape Lu Zishan. But when asked about Lu Zishan, the female model shook her head firmly, claiming that it was all a lie and that she had not been harassed at all. Huilin was dumbfounded. She did not understand why Lu Zishan would cover up the truth and help frame her, the person who had saved her. Then, no matter how much Zhuang Feng and the other people from Yulei International begged, Luo Sheng would not let it go. He called the police and brought Huilin to the police station. Zhuang Feng said with a headache, "Director Yang, Miss Huilin has just started her career, so she doesn't understand the unspoken rules of the industry. It's no secret that models try to please the director to get a higher position. Miss Huilin might have heard that B*TCH Lu Zishan say some soft words to resist, so she mistakenly thought that Lu Zishan was really unwilling. Now, she's beaten up director Luo Sheng and ruined his plan. Now, Lu Zishan's reputation has been tarnished, and her future as a star is going to be bleak. How can I not hate her so much?" Yang Chang was already back in his car. He started the engine and gave some instructions to Kai Ning and Choi Yun. Then, he turned the car around and asked, "Where's Huilin now?" "She's at the Beijing police headquarters. Our staff members are not allowed to enter. We want to hire a lawyer, but those lawyers don't have the guts to take on this case." Zhuang Feng said gloomily. "Why?" Yang Cheng had already found the location of the police station from the GPS and set off at top speed. Zhuang Feng explained, "Lu Zishan is just a small character. She doesn't have much influence. But director Luo Sheng, his sister, She's not someone we can afford to offend. I've told you, get to the point. Yang Cheng suppressed his anger and frowned. Yes, yes, yes. Zhuang Feng swallowed and said, Luo Sheng's sister is the eldest daughter of the Luo family in Beijing. Luo Suishan. Luo Suishan is the wife of Premier Ning Guangyao. She's also one of the higher-ups in the organization department. Luo Suishan. Yang Cheng felt that life was hard to predict. He didn't expect that right after he taught Ning Guodong a lesson, his mother's brother would come looking for trouble with him. Director Yang, to put it bluntly, no one dares to offend the Ning family. Even the lawyers have to give way. You're the only one who can handle this. Zhuang Feng had seen Yang Cheng's extraordinary background. Although it was still vague, they didn't even have the guts to go in and face Luo Sheng. After Yang Cheng hung up the phone, he couldn't suppress his anger. Initially, Lin Ruoshi had set up the entertainment company for Hui Lin. Making Yang Cheng the director was also to take care of Hui Lin. But he didn't expect that not only the incident with Mei Feng, he would also be arrested and sent to the police station. If it was any ordinary trouble, Abbas Yin Miao would have already helped to resolve it secretly. But this time, it was the Ning family and the Luo family. No wonder Abbas Yin Miao didn't do anything. At that moment, an unknown number called. Yang Cheng picked up the call and said, Abbas Yin Miao, cut the crap. I won't let anything happen to Hui Lin. The caller was indeed Yin Miao. She had just received the news not too long ago. After knowing that the caller was Luo Sheng, she felt helpless. Although she was extremely angry that her granddaughter had been arrested, she had to take care of the Lin clan, which was already in decline. She had no choice but to let Yang Chen handle it. I was forced to do this. The Lin family can't afford this anymore. With your capabilities, it shouldn't be a problem. Huier has been with me since she was young, so she doesn't know much about the dark side of the entertainment industry. This is also why I didn't want her to enter the industry. But since she's on her way, help me take care of her. Abbas Yin Miao sighed. Even if you really don't have romantic feelings for Huier, you should at least treat her like a sister. Yang Cheng was speechless. He smiled bitterly. Don't talk about romantic feelings at a time like this. Weren't you the one who added all of this? Oomph. You know better than anyone else. Abbas Yin Miao snorted and hung up. Yang Cheng curled his lips in a dilemma. It was truly a thankless task. Fortunately, the people involved in this case were political, so it wouldn't be exposed easily. If Lin Ruoshi found out about it on the news, he would have a headache. Then, he remembered that he had already asked Ron to arrange a team to serve Hui Lin and send them a huaxia. How could this happen? So, Yang Cheng called Ron again and said in Italian, Ron, damn it, has the team I asked you to arrange arrived in Beijing? My sister is in the police station now. Is this the result of you arranging a team for her? Ron was obviously in a daze. After a moment of silence, he said helplessly, Master, please calm down. The team didn't mean to be late. In fact, with the cooperation of Her Excellency Kristen and Queen Catherine, the team members had already been arranged. It's just that, Master, you know that the fog in London is too torturous. It delayed the plane for nearly a day. But according to the time, they should arrive in Beijing in an hour at most. Are they pigs? Can't they take off from Paris? Yang Cheng said. Ron was stunned. He then sighed. Master, you're so smart. Why didn't we think of that? Yang Cheng almost threw his phone out of the window. He gritted his teeth and said, They better be decent people. If I don't see them in an hour, I'll throw them all into the Atlantic Ocean to feed the sharks. Master, the Atlantic Ocean is very far from Xia's territory. The Pacific Ocean is very close to you. Ron said seriously. Damn it, that's not the point at all. Yang Cheng had a headache and hung up the phone. Fortunately, there was not much traffic on the way to the police station. Not long after, Yang Cheng arrived outside the police station. Outside the police station, Zhuang Feng and the other staff were waiting for the news from inside. They all looked extremely anxious. When Yang Cheng appeared, Zhuang Feng and the others immediately surrounded him. Zhuang Feng said helplessly, Director Yang, the police said that this case must be strictly confidential. They won't let us in, but we clearly saw Luo Sheng's assistant go in. They're completely biased. Yang Cheng did not reply. Instead, He walked straight to the door. Two policemen immediately blocked Yang Cheng's way. One of the policemen with a black face said solemnly, "Leave. This case is special. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. Get lost if you don't want to die." Yang Cheng had already lost his patience. As expected, the police station was biased towards Luo Sheng. This made him very worried about whether Hui Lin had been wronged. The two policemen were about to get angry when they saw a black Audi A8 with a government license plate driving to the police station. A middle-aged woman with short hair, wearing a dark blue professional suit and carrying a small bag, quickly got out of the car. The woman had obviously taken good care of herself. Her skin was delicate, forming a strong contrast with her mature temperament. However, there was a sense of majesty between her brows. When the woman walked towards the entrance of the police station, the two policemen immediately stood at attention and lowered their heads to greet her. Director Luo. Chapter 662. Luo Tsuishan smiled and nodded at the two police officers. Her gaze naturally fell on Yang Cheng, and a strange look flashed across her eyes. She said with a faint smile, "I really didn't expect that our first official meeting would be under such circumstances. If I remember correctly, your name is Yang Cheng, right?" Yang Cheng was not surprised that Luo Tsuishan saw through him. As the lady of the Ning family, it would be strange if Luo Tsuishan didn't know who he was. This isn't the time to chat. Yang Cheng couldn't tell what this woman was thinking, so he ignored her and walked straight into the police station. The two police officers immediately tried to stop Yang Cheng, but before they could get close, they felt an invisible force pushing them away. The two police officers were pushed back a few steps before they could regain their balance. They were so shocked that they didn't dare to rush forward. Luo Tsuishan frowned slightly and said to the two police officers, "Forget it. Don't stop him. You guys shouldn't be involved in today's matter." The two police officers immediately bowed and followed Luo Tsuishan with their eyes as she walked into the police station. Yang Cheng used his senses and found Hui Lin's location. After turning a few corners, he arrived at a large, brightly lit office. Many police officers and staff were gathered around a large table. The person in question, Luo Sheng, and the model, Lu Zishan, were sitting together on one side. Behind them were a few staff members. Only Hui Lin sat alone on the other side. She seemed to be afraid as she lowered her head, like a little girl who had made a mistake and was being criticized. A square-faced police officer in uniform was questioning Hui Lin with a stern face. He looked impatient. "Miss Hui Lin, I'll ask you one last time. Do you admit to beating up Director Luo Sheng? If you keep quiet, our patience will be limited." The square-faced police officer scolded. Hui Lin raised her head. Her eyes were watery, and she said in a low voice, I beat him because I wanted to save." She admitted it. "Officer, did you hear that? She admitted to beating me up." Luo Sheng, who had a large bruise on his face, looked like an angry fat wax gourd. He pointed at Hui Lin and shouted, "Officer, you all heard her. Hurry up and detain this crazy woman." Seeing this, Yang Cheng, who had just arrived, was infuriated. Just as he had expected, a group of people were attacking Hui Lin. "Arrest your grandma." Yang Cheng gritted through his teeth. He dashed to Luo Sheng's side in a flash and slapped the side of Luo Sheng's face. Before Luo Sheng could figure out what was going on, he felt the world spinning and flew off the chair. Bang, bang, bang. A series of chairs and tables were overturned. Amidst the exclamations of the crowd, Luo Sheng crashed into the mess on the floor like a human bullet. Only then did the police come to their senses. How did this strange man barge in? "Brother Yang." Hui Lin was overjoyed. Without caring about anything else, she threw herself into Yang Chen's arms and hugged him tightly. Like a frightened rabbit, her delicate body was still trembling. Yang Cheng hugged the girl gently with one arm. "Don't worry, it'll be fine." Hui Lin raised her head, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and nodded vigorously. Luo Tsuishan, who had just entered the office, saw her brother being slapped by Yang Cheng. A trace of anger appeared on her dignified and beautiful face. She glanced at Yang Cheng coldly and hurried over to help the pained Luo Sheng up. Ah Sheng, how are you? Luo Tsuishan asked worriedly. Luo Sheng saw his sister, and his nose was covered in tears. It was hard to tell if he was faking it or if he was really in pain. Sister, you're finally here. Your brother was beaten up twice today. You have to stand up for me. The square-faced police officer was scared out of his wits when he saw the Prime Minister's wife. She had beaten up the Prime Minister's brother-in-law in front of so many police officers. If the Prime Minister were to pursue the matter, would they be able to live? Luo Tsuishan didn't let her anger get to her head. Instead, she said coldly, "Are you saying that violence is allowed in the police station now? My fellow officers, is this how you usually handle cases?" Director Luo, please don't misunderstand. We'll arrest this kid right now. The square-faced police officer was sweating profusely as he hurriedly gave orders to the other police officers. What are you waiting for? Arrest him. The 8 police officers realized that the situation was not good, and they all rushed towards Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng was too lazy to even look at them, but in order not to be too shocking, he symbolically gestured with his hands. With a few simple one-handed grappling motions, these police officers, who had been trained in martial arts for a few days, were thrown into confusion. They were all sprawled on the ground, unable to move. This time, not only the square-faced police officer, but even Luo Tsuishan looked slightly panicked. She did not expect Yang Cheng to hit them without any hesitation. After all, this was the Yinjing police headquarters. Did he want to publicly make an enemy of the entire country's police force? However, the police headquarters wasn't a secluded place after all. Yang Cheng had just gotten rid of the few officers when at least 20 armed criminal police officers rushed in from the entrance. The square-faced police officer finally calmed down and remembered that he still had his gun. He quickly took it out and aimed it at Yang Cheng, but his hands were trembling slightly. He shouted, "I don't care who you are. Raise your hands and surrender now, or we won't be polite anymore." At the same time, the other dozens of police officers also surrounded Yang Cheng tightly. They raised their guns, intending to see if Yang Cheng made the slightest dangerous move. They would shoot him into a hornet's nest. Yang Cheng's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. He lowered his head and smiled at Hui Lin, who was in his arms. "Hui Lin, it seems that we might have to kill someone again today." When Hui Lin heard this, she hurriedly shook her head. "Brother Yang, let's talk this out. Can't we just hire a lawyer to bail us out? You don't have to kill anyone. If you kill someone, it will cause a lot of trouble. I'm not interested in killing these people, but they won't even let me hire a lawyer." Yang Cheng sighed helplessly. At this time, Luo Tsuishan, who had calmed down, had a myriad of changes in her expression. She tried her best to smile and said, "Yang Cheng, I didn't have the time to tell you just now. Actually, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. You probably don't know, but your mother, Guo Xiuhua, and I were classmates in university. I heard that Xiuhua had found her long-lost son, and I was happy for you and your mother. Actually, what happened today is not a big deal. If you and my brother become enemies because of such a small matter, it would be equivalent to destroying the harmony between the Ning family and the Yang family. Guang Yao and I have always respected old Yang. If it's possible, I suggest that we talk calmly. Although I know you might not be afraid of so many people pointing guns at you, there's no need to fight to the death. It's not worth it, isn't it?" Yang Cheng squinted his eyes and smiled. "Are you trying to be a good person so that I can express my gratitude to you? You're thinking too much, Yang Cheng. I've already said that your mother and I were classmates. As your elder, I don't want to see you make such a big mistake. Young people are still impatient sometimes. Let's sit down and talk. I promise I won't make things difficult for you and the Lin family's daughter," Luo Tsuishan said amiably. Luo Sheng, who had been trembling, heard his sister's words and secretly asked, "Sis, who is this kid? Is he from the Yang family?" Luo Tsuishan glared at him. "You've caused trouble. You better shut up now." Luo Sheng quickly shut his mouth and looked around. The other female models, Lu Zishan and the staff, were so scared that they didn't even dare to breathe. Yang Cheng sneered. "I'm not interested in your relationship with my mother. It doesn't matter to me which family you're from. But since you said what you just said, and I don't know you, it's obvious that you've investigated me behind my back. I don't think you investigated me out of the kindness of your heart. I'm sure you know that I have a grudge against your son. I'm not afraid to tell you that I made Ning Guodong kneel down and apologize to me in front of everyone at Sky Cloud Restaurant. Who knows? He might throw himself on your lap and cry tonight. Luo Tsuishan's face turned green. Ning Guodong kneeled down. In an instant, the smile on the woman's face disappeared, and anger began to surface in the depths of her eyes. Can't hold it anymore. Yang Chung didn't plan to stop. He continued, I'm telling you all this because I want to make it clear to you. Actually, you know very well that maybe other people can't think of it, but I can imagine that your generation already had a lot of problems. When it comes to our generation, there's no such thing as a harmonious relationship. You have to pretend to be a good person. Although I don't know what other tricks you have up your sleeves, I'm not interested in it. Lin Hui is the sister that my wife and I cherish, and she's also our family. As long as I'm here, no one can do anything to her. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that we haven't reached that point yet, I wouldn't even hesitate to kill your idiot brother right in front of you. Luo Tsuishan tried her best to speak in a calm tone. You're indeed Guishuahua's son. Although you didn't raise him since he was young, you're still born with a sharp tongue. But Yang Chung, you're still too young. Judging from the current situation, even if you forcefully take this girl away from here, we're on the side of the law. She beat up my brother, and we have both witnesses and material evidence. She'll be judged by the law. As far as I know, she should be busy holding a concert and releasing a new album. Don't you think it's a pity for such a superstar to fall in the middle of her career? Is that so? Yang Chung grinned and smiled mysteriously. Perhaps you'll change that ridiculous idea of yours soon. Chapter 663. Yang Cheng's words confused Luo Tsuishan, and the police looked at Luo Tsuishan hesitantly. Everyone at the scene was waiting for the Prime Minister's wife to give her orders. However, Luo Tsuishan had to consider a lot more than ordinary people. After all, she was not only the eldest daughter of the Luo family and the head of the Ning family, but she was also the Prime Minister's wife. There were many times when she had to consider the bigger picture. Just as Luo Tsuishan was thinking about how to deal with the situation at hand, the sound of high-heeled footsteps came from the entrance of the police station. Not long after, a tall, chestnut-haired Caucasian lady walked into the police office. The lady was wearing a black uniform and white stockings. Her curly hair was tied up, and she wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. She looked like a typical Caucasian, a middle-aged Western beauty. The police were confused, and Luo Tsuishan and the others were also confused. They didn't know why a foreign lady had suddenly walked in. After the lady scanned the situation in the office, her gaze immediately locked onto Yang Chung. Seeing Yang Chung, the lady's eyes clearly showed excitement that couldn't be concealed. However, her good mentality and upbringing allowed her to gracefully walk in front of Yang Chung. She bowed slightly and greeted him in standard English with a London accent. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Your Excellency. I was personally appointed by Her Majesty Queen Catherine to be Miss Lin's personal lawyer. My name is Laura Macgrow from London's Linklaters law firm. I'm honored to be able to serve you and Miss Lin in my lifetime. The series of respectful English introductions made most of the people present feel dizzy. The only ones who could understand were Luo Tsuishan and the others. However, because she understood Laura's introduction, Luo Tsuishan's expression immediately turned ugly. Queen Catherine, Linklater's law firm? As the wife of Prime Minister Hua Xia, Luo Tsuishan had more opportunities to interact with the leaders of the world's powerful countries than the other matriarchs of big families. She was very clear about Queen Catherine's role in Great Britain, and Linklater's law firm was one of the top 5 law firms in the world. Most of the lawyers in such firms deal with international financial cases and rarely deal with private legal matters. But why would a lawyer of this level come to Beijing so cautiously to be Lin Hui's private legal counsel, and with a face full of glory? But that was not the only thing that shocked Luo Tsuishan even more. Yang Chung wasn't interested in Laura's series of introductions. Instead, he frowned in dissatisfaction. Everyone's here? Laura nodded. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm sorry. Because of the fog in London, we were delayed by a day. Do you know that if you were 10 minutes late, all of you would have been fed to the sharks? Yang Chung said lightly. Laura's face turned pale. She lowered her proud head and didn't dare to make a sound. I don't want you to make such stupid mistakes in the future when you work for my sister. If I wasn't in Beijing today, things wouldn't have been so simple. You have to realize the seriousness of the situation. Yang Chung said lightly. Laura nodded vigorously. Please rest assured, Your Excellency. We will do our best. This time, everyone in our team came with the highest standards. Yang Chung sighed. Don't say useless things. You should have figured out the details on the way here. Solve it quickly. Laura breathed a sigh of relief, as if she had narrowly escaped death. She wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, straightened her chest, and revealed a confident smile. She turned to the square-faced police officer and asked, Excuse me, is this officer in charge here? This time, Laura spoke in Chinese. Although the pronunciation was a bit strange, he could still hear it clearly. The square-faced police officer nodded and stammered. Yes. Laura smiled. My name is Laura. I'm a lawyer from London's Linklaters International Law Firm. I work for Miss Hui Lin. I'm now officially requesting that she be released on bail. As Laura spoke, she took out an internationally certified lawyer's license and other documents from her handbag and placed them on the table. The square-faced police officer couldn't understand what she was looking at, but it didn't seem like it was fake. He looked at Luo Tsuishan and waited for Luo Tsuishan's instructions. Luo Tsuishan shook her head slightly. Even if she was a world-class lawyer, she had no intention of letting Yang Chung off easy. After all, there was no reason for Luo Tsuishan not to settle old and new grudges. The square-faced officer understood and cleared his throat. Miss Lawyer, we've just gone through an interrogation. Miss Lu Zishan here is her witness. She testified that Miss Hui Lin had barged into the meeting room and assaulted Director Luo Sheng. The wounds on Director Luo Sheng can also be proven to be caused by Miss Hui Lin. More importantly, Miss Hui Lin has admitted that she did hit him. Therefore, we can't allow you to release Miss Hui Lin on bail. Laura's eyes lit up. She turned to Lu Zishan and said, You must be the model, Miss Lu Zishan. May I ask you a question? Lu Zishan was scared out of her wits. However, she knew that she couldn't tell anyone the truth. Otherwise, her career as a star would be ruined. She nodded nervously. Sure, may I know what Miss Lu Zishan was doing when Miss Hui Lin barged into the meeting room? Laura asked. Lu Zishan immediately answered. I was discussing the details of the MV with the director. Miss Hui Lin barged in and beat up the director for no reason. That's not it. She was doing that thing with Director Luo. Hui Lin felt wronged. I heard her shouting, Director, don't do it. That's why I went in to save her. Miss Lu, why didn't you tell the truth? Miss Hui Lin, please have some self-respect. Don't slander me. Lu Zishan turned her head and ignored Hui Lin. Hui Lin's face was pale. She didn't understand why Lu Zishan would treat her like this. Yang Chung patted Hui Lin's shoulder. Don't cry here. I didn't bring any tissues. Hui Lin pouted and nodded, feeling wronged. Laura shrugged. She then turned to Luo Sheng, who was looking furious. This must be Director Luo. Director Luo, is what Miss Lu Zishan said true? Of course. I was discussing the details of the costumes with Miss Lu Zishan when this crazy woman barged in and beat me up. I'm going to sue her. Luo Sheng said righteously. Laura looked helpless. It's a pity that neither of you were able to tell the truth. Lawyer Laura, if you have anything to say, you can say it now, Luo Tsuishan said in English. Okay. Laura spread her hands and took out a tablet computer from her bag. She said to everyone, It's a pity. On the way here, I've asked the technicians to retrieve the surveillance video of the meeting room from the building where the incident happened. In this video, the actual situation at that time is recorded. In it, the scene of Director Luo and Miss Lu Zishan warming up is very clear. The police were stunned. Luo Tsuishan's face darkened. Lu Zishan's face turned pale. Luo Sheng was in disbelief. Next, I'll reveal the actual situation to everyone. Laura calmly turned on the computer. She entered the password and was about to play the video. That's impossible. Luo Sheng suddenly flew into a rage. I've checked beforehand. There were no surveillance cameras in the meeting room. You can't have a recording. At this point, Luo Sheng suddenly realized that he had fallen into a trap. Lu Zishan staggered 2 steps back and almost fell. She was just an ordinary female model. How could she have thought so much? Originally, she thought there was a video, which was why she was shocked. Who would have thought that she had been set up? Laura smiled brightly. Director Luo, why do we need to check if there are cameras when we're discussing the content of the MV? That's because Luo Sheng's mind went blank. He didn't know what to say. Luo Suishan's face darkened. She pushed her brother aside and said calmly, Lawyer Laura, although your plan is excellent, you don't have a recording. But you don't have a recording, so you don't have any evidence. Since that's the case, we still have a witness. We have a reason not to let Lin Hui go. Laura blinked. You must be Premier Ning's wife. I've seen you in a newspaper before, beautiful lady. You're right. However, my employer, Miss Lin Hui, has another identity. It's enough for her to leave this place. With that, Laura took out a red booklet from her bag, ignoring the doubts of the people around her. I'm not sure if everyone recognizes this, Laura explained with a smile. I'd like to announce that Miss Lin Hui has just obtained British citizenship. This is her passport. Although Hua Xia doesn't allow dual citizenship, Britain does. Therefore, from the British point of view, Miss Hui Lin is one of our people. At the same time, Britain's embassy has been notified and has obtained diplomatic immunity for Miss Lin Hui. In other words, if we want to convict, interrogate, or detain Miss Lin Hui, we'll have to go through diplomatic channels. I don't think a mere police station would be able to negotiate on behalf of countries. Listening to Laura's unhurried words, the square-faced police officer had already slumped back in his chair. Negotiations between countries? How could they, mere police officers, handle that? Luo Tsuishan knew that there were some loopholes in Laura's words, but they were negligible. The worst part was that Laura had escalated the matter into a diplomatic issue. Although she knew that Yang Cheng had a certain level of influence abroad, she didn't expect him to be able to use the entire United Kingdom as a shield so easily. Of course, Luo Tsuishan couldn't help but sigh. Women from the world's top law firm were indeed difficult to deal with. Just like that, Lin Hui could no longer be touched. Moreover, she was under a lot of pressure. After all, she was the premier's wife. If anything went wrong with diplomacy, she would have to bear the blame. Chapter 664. Yang Cheng didn't expect Catherine and Ron to be so well prepared. They even arranged a nationality for Hui Lin. Although to them, a nationality was just a consumer good that they could get immediately, it was still quite troublesome. This could indeed save them a lot of trouble in the future, and it could also lay a good foundation for Hui Lin's development abroad. Seeing that the matter was almost settled, Yang Cheng held Hui Lin's hand and walked out of the police station. Seeing that, Luo Sheng grabbed Luo Tsuishan's hand unwillingly and said, Sister, think of a way. We can't just let this go. Luo Tsuishan shook her brother off and snorted coldly. Why are you panicking? They won't do anything to you. They're useless fools. Seeing that his sister was angry, Luo Sheng didn't dare to mutter anymore. After all, nothing had happened to him. Although he was unwilling, he could only let it go. Luo Tsuishan turned around and said to Yang Cheng's back, Yang Cheng, this matter ends here. However, I will definitely look into Guodong's matter. You have to be mentally prepared. If there's anything, talk to the lawyer. Yang Cheng didn't even bother to turn around. After saying that, he left the office with Hui Lin. Seeing that Yang Cheng had left, Laura packed her things and quickly followed behind. To her, it didn't matter how the case turned out. As long as Yang Cheng wasn't dissatisfied with her work, it would be her biggest success. In the police station, everyone was silent. No one stopped them. After leaving the police station, Zhuang Feng and the others were relieved to see Yang Cheng and Hui Lin come out unscathed. They felt that Yang Cheng's background was extraordinary. He was actually able to take advantage of the premier's wife. After Yang Cheng dismissed everyone, he said to Laura, It's late now. I'll send Miss Hui Lin home. Go back and tell everyone that I'll meet everyone in Huaxia tomorrow morning and make some announcements. You can go now. Laura didn't dare to question him. She humbly bowed and said goodbye. Seeing that Laura left so quickly, Huilin said with some regret, Brother Yang, I haven't thanked this sister yet. Yang Cheng chuckled. You'll have plenty of opportunities in the future. Not only her, but many elite teams that I've invited from overseas will also serve you. I guarantee that you'll become famous in the shortest time. You'll be able to meet them tomorrow. Famous, huh? Huilin seemed to be in a daze. She nodded her head blankly. Yang Cheng sighed and said, Your grandmother called me to make sure that you'll be fine. I think you should go home and sleep tonight. Let your grandmother see you, Anshin. Come, get in my car. I'll send you home. Of course, Huilin didn't have any objections. She obediently got in the car and told Yang Cheng the address of the Lin family's house. Under the night sky, the traffic on the Yinjing Ring Expressway was sparse. The bright street lights were like countless fireflies, illuminating the spacious road like glowing jade ribbons. It was unusually quiet in the car. After about 10 minutes, Yang Cheng drove in silence, while Huilin stared out of the window in a daze. The light shone through the windshield and onto Huilin's exquisite face. Her long eyelashes fluttered, as though there was a layer of twilight covering her eyes. Yang Cheng knitted his brows and finally couldn't help asking, Lass, what's wrong with you? If your sister sees your expression, she'll definitely think that I'm abusing you. Huilin forced a smile. It's fine, Brother Yang. There's just something that I can't figure out. What is it that you can't figure out? Tell me, lest you develop a mental illness. Of course, if it's about you girls' private affairs, then forget it. I'm thin-skinned and easily embarrassed. Yang Cheng boasted shamelessly. Huilin couldn't help but burst into laughter. She wrinkled her nose and said, Brother Yang, you're shameless. No wonder my sister doesn't give you a good look. Yang Cheng raised his brows and smiled. Your sister doesn't give anyone a good look. I'm used to it. Hee hee. I feel much more relaxed now that you're laughing. Brother Yang, I really don't understand why Miss Lu Zishan would help Luo Sheng to harm me. She clearly didn't want to help me at that time. Shouldn't she be on my side since I saved her? Huilin bit her lower lip, but her smile didn't last long before she asked, Brother Yang, I really don't understand. Yang Cheng felt helpless. This lass was still troubled by this matter. Abbasia Miao was right. The unspoken rules of the entertainment industry had a huge impact on the innocent Huilin. Although I'm not in the entertainment industry, I can tell you a little about it. As for Lu Zishan, although she might not be willing to have a relationship with Luo Sheng, she was still struggling. After all, as long as she had a close relationship with Luo Sheng, it would be easier for her to climb up the ranks. The entertainment industry was cruel, especially for female stars like her. If she didn't climb higher and earn more money while she was young, she might be eliminated in the future. She's not like you, who can conquer everyone with your singing. She's just a model, a girl from an ordinary family. If she offended Luo Sheng for the sake of telling the truth, it would only ruin her career. Not only would she ruin her career, but her reputation would also be ruined. After all, if the public knew that she was violated by Luo Sheng, even if it didn't happen, they would still think of her as that kind of woman. So, it's hard for her to help you, even if you're doing it for her own good, Yang Cheng said. Huilin frowned and thought about it carefully for a while, but still shook her head. But does she really not care about her innocence? Does she have to sell herself like a commodity just to become famous? She's a pretty girl. Even if she doesn't enter the entertainment industry, she can still do other jobs, right? I've always thought that working in the entertainment industry would be a happy thing. I can sing and dance and make everyone happy. But if the real entertainment industry is like this, I feel that it's cruel and I hate it. I don't have the confidence to go on. Yang Cheng let out a long sigh. He hesitated for a while and suddenly turned the steering wheel, driving towards a fork in the highway. Huilin was stunned. Brother Yang, this isn't the way according to the GPS. I know. I'll bring you somewhere, Yang Cheng said. Huilin looked around in confusion. After they got off the highway, they entered a residential area. It was late at night, and there weren't many people on the road. Before Huilin could ask where they were going, Yang Chung slowly stopped the car beside a street lamp. Brother Yang, where are we? Huilin looked around and found nothing special. There were only some buildings and some small shops. Yang Chung rolled down his car window and pointed at a small shop across the road. It was still open late at night. Do you see that shop? Yang Chung asked calmly. Huilin had a good internal energy cultivation. Even though she was far away, she could clearly see the details of the shop. The shop mainly sold cigarettes and some small fast consumer goods. The signboard was old and tattered. There was a slightly plump middle-aged woman sitting on a stool at the entrance with her arms crossed. She seemed to be sleepy, but she didn't dare to close the shop too early. She was hoping that she could still make some business. Brother Yang, do you want to buy cigarettes? I'll buy some for you. Huilin thought that Yang Chung was addicted to cigarettes and wanted to unbuckle her seatbelt to get off the car. Yang Chung smiled bitterly. What are you thinking about? I wanted to tell you about the owner of this shop. Huilin paused and looked at Yang Chung curiously. Yang Chung said tactfully, the woman sitting at the entrance had sinus cancer last year. After the surgery, she needed to take Chinese medicine to recuperate for the next 3 years. She also had to go to the hospital for a checkup every month. However, because this shop was the only source of income for her family, the medical expenses became a huge burden. Even the Chinese medicine that the woman usually took was intermittent, and she could not take it normally. Her husband was a retired worker. However, after seeing his wife in this state, he couldn't stay at home and went to work at the construction site. However, 2 months ago, her leg was crushed by the fender. The doctor said that she might need to undergo surgery because the bone was damaged. Otherwise, it might worsen and she might need to amputate her leg even more cruelly. You can say that this family situation has worsened. That's why the woman wanted to do business at this late hour. She wanted to make up for the huge gap in the family's finances. When Huilin heard this, tears welled up in her eyes. She said softly, they are so pitiful. Then, don't they have a son or daughter? Yang Chung nodded and sighed. Yes, they do. They have a daughter. Fortunately, their daughter is very beautiful and has a model's body. Not long ago, their daughter won the first prize in a model competition. She has the opportunity to enter the entertainment industry and make a lot of money by filming commercials. However, their daughter's career has just started and it won't be a short time before she can make money. However, her parents, especially her father's surgery, are coming up soon. They need to get a lot of money as soon as possible. In the end, their daughter went to the bank to get a loan. However, the money she got from the loan was still not enough. Her relatives and friends avoided her and refused to borrow money. In the end, their daughter recently decided to sell her body to help her parents get the surgery fees and medical expenses. Huilin was slightly stunned. She thought for a while and asked hesitantly, Brother Yang, are you saying that they are Miss Lu Zishan's parents? Yang Chung smiled and nodded. Lu Zishan was forced to have a relationship with Luo Sheng for the sake of her parents' health. Which do you think is more important, her innocence or her parents' health? Huilin's face was filled with pain. Finally, she said softly, if that's the case, Miss Lu Zishan is really a good girl. I think what she did was right. I've wronged her. At this moment, a tall and muscular middle-aged man walked out from an alley not far away. He shouted at the woman at the entrance of the shop, Wife, go home. Why are you looking after the shop? Do you need that little money? The woman also replied loudly, Got it. I'll go home now. Huilin's hearing was also excellent. She could hear such a loud sound clearly. For a moment, Huilin looked at Yang Chung in astonishment. Brother Yang, that man is that aunt's husband. You mean? Yang Chung shrugged and smiled. Of course I'm lying. It's my first time meeting Lu Zishan. How would I know anything about her family? Brother Yang, how can you be like this? Although Huilin had a good temper, she pouted in dissatisfaction. After all, she had been deceived to the point of tears. Yang Chung stretched out his finger and scratched Huilin's pink lips. He said earnestly, Huilin, although what I said just now was a lie, none of us know anything about Lu Zishan's family. Let's not talk about Lu Zishan. What about the families of the staff who depend on Lu Zishan? In this world, people are inextricably linked with each other. If Lu Zishan is really in urgent need of money like I said, then does she deserve to be forgiven? But, but that's fake. Hui Lin said, what I made up is indeed fake. But there are thousands of families around us. It's hard to guarantee that one of them is the same as what I've described. Think about it. If Lu Zishan happens to be the daughter of that family, and you help her to keep her chastity but cause her parents to have no money to treat their illness, are you doing the right thing or wrong thing to do? There's also the possibility that because of you, Lu Zishan can't enter the entertainment industry. Her manager and makeup artist will also lose their jobs. Will that also put their families in danger? Seeing that Hui Lin was speechless, Yang Cheng continued, we encounter all kinds of things every day, and we make all kinds of choices. Of course, we also see others make their choices. Maybe in our opinion, many people's choices are wrong and shouldn't be. But none of us can know what's hidden behind strangers. There's no right or wrong in everything. Since it has happened, there must be a reason for it. If we have to consider whether it's right or wrong every time we make a choice, then we can't be absolutely considerate. Because maybe you've helped someone in front of you, but it's very likely that you've hurt more people behind the scenes. Hui Lin was silent for a long time and then asked in a daze, then, Brother Yang, what should I do? Follow your heart, just like how you kicked Luo Sheng away from Lu Zishan today. No matter what the result of your action is, you have a kind starting point, and that's the most important thing. Yang Cheng smiled and said, you can't control others, but you can control yourself. Maybe there are many people in the entertainment industry who do things that you can't stand and accept, but as long as you insist on being yourself, then it doesn't matter what others do. Hui Lin was in a daze for a while, and she muttered something to herself. Then, she finally smiled contentedly. I understand, Brother Yang. I'll work hard to continue singing. No matter what they do, I like this job, Hui Lin said confidently. Yang Cheng heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, I persuaded you to come back. Otherwise, if you quit after spending hundreds of millions of yuan on your sister, you would have suffered a great loss. Hui Lin looked at Yang Cheng affectionately and said shyly, thank you, Brother Yang. I've troubled you again. It's not that I'm troubled. I'm just worried that I won't be able to hear such a beautiful voice in the future. Yang Cheng blinked and said. Hui Lin was obviously very happy. She naturally pounced forward and hugged Yang Cheng's neck. But when she realized that her movements were a little too big, she quickly dodged like a rabbit and lowered her head, not daring to make a sound. Yang Cheng's body stiffened. He felt a fragrant body lingering on his body for a while, and then immediately drifted away with a fragrant wind. He felt an itch in his heart, but he didn't think too much about it. That, since you've thought it through, let's go back quickly. If we're late, your grandma will worry that I'll kidnap you again, said Yang Cheng. This time, Hui Lin only responded in a low voice, and she didn't even dare to raise her head. Chapter 665. In a high-rise apartment in Yanjing, a young man drunkenly walked to the door of his room. He seemed to be drunk, and even his hands were trembling as he searched for the key. He only managed to open the door after a long time. After stumbling into the room, the man subconsciously turned on the lights in the apartment. The light illuminated the newly renovated room, and under the crystal chandelier, the man's figure was swaying. The man leaned against the wall, tables, and chairs as he moved to the bar counter in the room. He took a half-finished bottle of whiskey, unscrewed the cork, and poured it directly into his mouth. The amber-colored whiskey spilled out from the corner of the man's mouth, wetting his expensive Versace shirt, but it didn't stop him at all. After drinking a few mouthfuls, the man seemed to be choking. He coughed a few times, then slumped to the ground and stopped drinking. Guodong. Just then, a woman suddenly walked into the unlocked door. She exclaimed when she saw the young man lying on the ground, covered in filth and almost unconscious. Luo Tsuishan also rushed over. After she came out of the police station, she immediately called Ning Guodong's phone, but Ning Guodong's phone was turned off. In a hurry, Luo Tsuishan ran to the apartment where her son was staying. She didn't expect to see Ning Guodong in such a miserable state as soon as she arrived. Luo Tsuishan was distressed and angry at the same time. After she threw her bag away, She rolled up her sleeves and pulled Ning Guodong up from the ground. Looking at her son, who looked like a drunkard on the street, Luo Tsuishan wished that she was dreaming, but the reality was right in front of her eyes. After spending a lot of effort, she helped Ning Guodong to the sofa. Then, Luo Tsuishan took a towel from the bathroom and wiped Ning Guodong's face. She then took off his dirty shirt and took a breath. Ning Guodong was like a puppet, drinking and gurgling. He didn't say anything and let his mother do whatever she wanted with his body. Looking at her son like this, Luo Tsuishan's eyes reddened. With tears in her eyes, she said, "Guodong, how can you not take care of your body? I know you're very sad now, but a man should know when to yield and when to stand tall. How can you do this?" Ning Guodong raised his head and looked at his mother in a daze. He sneered, "Mom, I just knelt down. I actually knelt down in front of so many people to a bastard." Ning Guodong had tears and snot running down his face when he said that. He looked like a little boy who had been wronged, instead of a rising star in the officialdom who was like a fish in water. Luo Tsuishan endured the pain in her heart and sat down. She grabbed her son's hand and said, "I know, but Guodong, the more it's like this, the more you can't give up on yourself. You're the young master of the Ning family. It's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Sooner or later, you'll make that bastard with the surname Yang pay back 100-fold. Weren't you very confident in the past? I believe you can do it. You can do it." Ning Guodong shook off his mother's hand and laughed bitterly. "Young master? What's the use of that? I can't even get what I want the most. What's the use of being the young master of the Ning family? Besides, it's still uncertain whether I'll be the one to take over the Ning family in the future." "Humph." Luo Tsuishan quickly shook her head and said, "Guodong, don't think too much. Listen to me and come home with me. No matter what, you're your father's biological son, our only son. If we don't let you take over the Ning family, who else can? As long as you apologize to your father, he'll be on your side. Be good and come home with me, okay?" Ning Guodong shook his head woodenly. "Mom, I'm not going back. That man, for a cheap woman, wanted to shoot me. Ha! How could that kind of person be my father? Even if I die, I won't apologize to him." A trace of pain flashed through Luo Tsuishan's eyes. She closed her eyes and tears flowed down uncontrollably. "Mom, can you tell me why? Why can that bastard with the surname Yang get a woman, but I can't? Why can he always make a fool of me? Why can he make a fool of me with that kind of thing? Why can he have so many women, but he can't even let go of the one I like?" Ning Guodong roared like a drunkard. He slammed the sofa and was on the verge of breaking down. Taking a deep breath, Luo Tsuishan trembled. She reached out and touched her son's cheek. She said, "Guodong, do you really want that woman that much?" Ning Guodong's drunken eyes flashed with a trace of hatred. He gritted his teeth and said, I want to torture her to death. I want her to know how low she is. I also want to torture her in front of that Yang. I want to suck that woman's blood dry." Perhaps it was because he was mentally exhausted. Ning Guodong fell asleep before he finished speaking. Luo Tsuishan stood there in a daze. She looked at her son, who was like a hungry lion roaring in a low voice as he fell asleep. The woman's eyes were filled with an unfathomable black mist. After Lin Jua died, the Lin family's mansion in the west of Yanjing City gradually left the sight of many people. Other than a few servants going in and out of the mansion, not many people came to visit. The Lin family's building was somewhat antique, but the interior design of the house was similar to that of a modern house. In a room in the backyard, Hui Lin, who had just finished bathing, was only wearing a white silk nightgown. Her fair shoulders were exposed as she sat on the edge of her soft bed. Her pair of fair legs were exposed to the air, swaying slightly. Although she rarely stayed in this house for so many years, the television, laptop, and a series of other things in the room were all prepared properly. Even if Lin Jiguo was gone, the Lin family would only withdraw from the core of power. Their financial resources wouldn't decline too much, so their only granddaughter's life wouldn't change much. However, Huilin clearly wasn't in the mood to touch those things, nor did she have the intention to sleep. She just sat there, lost in her thoughts. Occasionally, she would smile, and occasionally, she would frown with worry. The door to the room slowly opened from the outside. Abbess Yun Miao, who was wearing a moon-white nightgown, walked in. After all, she had been staying in the city for a long time, so she didn't intentionally wear her traditional Taoist robes anymore. Seeing that the light in her granddaughter's room was still on, Abbess Yun Miao walked in out of curiosity. When she entered the room, she saw that Hui Lin was also in a daze and didn't notice her. "Huier, what are you smiling about?" Abbess Yun Miao smiled helplessly as she walked up to her. Hui Lin was shocked, and a trace of redness flashed across her face. She lowered her head and said softly, "Grandma, I wasn't thinking about anything. I'm just a little tired, so I was in a daze." "Oomph, silly girl. You must be thinking about that kid, Yang Cheng." Abbess Yin Miao said straightforwardly as she sat beside Hui Lin. Hui Lin's chin was almost touching her chest. Her face was red, and she didn't say a word. Abbess Yin Miao sighed helplessly. "Actually, you keep telling me not to make things difficult for that Yang Cheng, but deep down, you still like him, don't you?" Hui Lin didn't say a word, but her heart was beating faster. "What are you shy about?" Abbess Yin Miao pinched Hui Lin's cheek affectionately before saying, "Back in Tibet, when Yang Cheng left the camp in a helicopter, I saw you sneakily hiding there, watching him leave. I watched you grow up, so how could I not know what you were thinking? That's why I wanted to matchmake you in Yang Cheng. Although I don't really like that kid's philandering, as long as you like him, I can tolerate it." "Grandma, don't say any more." "No, no." Hui Lin's face was red as she murmured. "What's there to say? Look at you. Just now, when he sent you home, you watch him drive off. Even if I bid farewell to you, you would never watch me leave like this." Abbess Yin Miao rolled her eyes at Hui Lin and said, "Really, what's so good about that kid? Why are there so many girls around him?" Hui Lin pouted and said slowly, "Brother Yang, although he's not a serious person usually, when he's needed, he always makes people feel safe and trust him. I think that's what you like about him." Sister, the more you call Lin Ruashi sister, the further away you are from Yang Cheng." "Silly girl, if it weren't for the fact that you're still young and aren't in a hurry to get married and have kids, I wouldn't be able to wait that long," Abbess Yin Miao said angrily. "You know the situation of our Lin family. Your parents were killed by that stupid grandfather of yours. Now it's your turn. You're the only one in your generation. If you keep hanging on to Yang Cheng without any results, won't our Lin clan have no descendants? When will I be able to hug my great-grandson?" Hui Lin raised her head, her eyes glistening. She held Abbess Yin Miao's hand and smiled sweetly. "Grandma, you look like you're only in your 30s or 40s. How can you become a great-grandmother so quickly? If we go out, people will think that we're mother and daughter. How would they know that we're grandma and granddaughter?" Abbess Yin Miao was a woman after all. When she heard her granddaughter praising her for being young and pretty, she was overjoyed that she didn't want to admit it. Her resentment vanished, and she pretended to be indifferent. "Go be a singer. You didn't learn anything else, but you learned how to sing. All right. Don't you have to go to work tomorrow? Go to bed early. I'll get the servants to brew some ginseng chicken soup. I'll make chicken soup noodles for you tomorrow morning." "All right, Grandma. Go to bed early too," Hui Lin said obediently. Abbess Yin Miao stood up and caressed her granddaughter's head lovingly, revealing a helpless yet satisfied smile. Chapter 666. The next morning, in the backyard of the Kai residence, Yang Cheng yawned as he walked out of Choi Yun's room. After sending Hui Lin home last night, he wanted to look for Choi Yun and get intimate with her. After all, he hadn't seen her for a long time. He missed Choi Yun's supple body, but he didn't expect Choi Yun to sleep with Kai Ning. However, he was too embarrassed to share a room with the two sisters on his first visit to the Kai residence. Thus, he decided to spend the night alone. When he came to the living room, the servants had already prepared breakfast. Kai Yunqing and Jiang Shan were already eating. Seeing Yang Chun come out, Jiang Shan smiled and said, "Yang Chun, come and eat. Why did you wake up so early? Why didn't you rest more?" Yang Chun wasn't used to his mother-in-law's change of attitude. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Auntie, I should spend more time with you, but I have some urgent matters to attend to in Zhonghai. I'll be back in 2 days. I'll have to leave after breakfast." "Why are you in such a hurry?" Jiang Shan said regretfully. That's right. A young man, like you must have a lot of work to do. I understand. Kai Yinqing mumbled, work? Other than women, I don't have any other work. Jiang Shan hit her husband's shoulder and said, what are you talking about? How can you talk about your son-in-law like that? Kai Yinqing was furious, but he didn't lose his temper at all. Jiang Shan wasn't in the mood to continue eating. She pondered and said, Yang Cheng, if you and your mother stay in Zhonghai, won't old Master Yang be lonely in Beijing? As far as I know, General Yang Pejuan and your brother Yang Lai don't go home often. Should I visit him more often in the future? Or maybe I can let Ning Er visit him often. Yonyan will also return to Zhonghai in a few days, but it's fine for Ning Er to stay in Beijing. That's enough. Why are you thinking about these things? Kai Yinqing felt embarrassed. Yang Qing couldn't help but smile. He didn't want to explain anything to Jiang Shan. At this moment, Kai Ning and Choi Yun walked out together. Kai Ning was still fine, but Choi Yun's gaze towards Yang Cheng was filled with the cunning joy of revenge. Did you sleep well last night? Choi Yun hugged Yang Cheng's neck from behind and asked with a bright smile. Yang Cheng knew that Choi Yun purposely made him miss the opportunity, so he bitterly smiled. Is there a need for that? I left last night because I had something important to do. Besides, even if I can escape for a while, can I escape forever? Who asked you to leave so suddenly at night? Don't you know that someone will be worried? Bad guy. Choi Yun pinched Yang Cheng's face from behind and pouted. Jiang Shan hurriedly stopped her. Yonyan, what are you doing? Why are you pinching Yang Cheng's face so early in the morning? Mom, why are you helping him? Choi Yun said unhappily. Is there a girl like you? Be gentle and learn from your sister. Luckily Yang Cheng wants you, otherwise I don't know who he would marry. Jiang Shan lectured in distress. Gentle? Hearing Jiang Shan's words, Yang Cheng couldn't help but look at Kai Ning who was sitting beside him. After Kai Ning sat down, she elegantly drank her porridge and didn't say anything. However, under the table, one of Kai Ning's shoes was stepping on the tip of Yang Cheng's foot. The breakfast was full of bitterness and tears. This pair of sisters were like ice and fire. In short, neither side was easy to get along with. After bidding farewell to the Kai family, Yang Cheng immediately rushed to the branch of Yulei Entertainment. He had made an appointment yesterday to meet with the team from Europe this morning. Although this group of people was specially recruited by Ron to serve Hui Lin and had no direct contact with him, it would be too unreasonable if he didn't meet them at all. However, when he arrived at the building where the entertainment company was located, Yang Cheng realized that it wasn't an easy task to enter. He saw 3 layers of reporters and cameras surrounding the building. There were also many broadcasting vans from TV stations at the scene. It was obvious that they were going to broadcast some important headlines. Yang Cheng's heart was pounding. Could it be that the news of him killing someone here was spread by someone? That's not right. The media shouldn't dare to go against the country. That news was suppressed by the Security Bureau, so there must be some other problem. At a loss, Yang Cheng got out of the car, took out his phone, and dialed Zhuang Feng's number. As soon as the call connected, without waiting for Yang Cheng to ask about the situation, Zhuang Feng said impatiently, Director Yang, I was just about to call you this. This is too crazy. You're panicking again. What are you panicking for? Speak in detail. Yang Cheng said gloomily. Zhuang Feng hurriedly suppressed his emotions and said, Director Yang, a bus just came from outside, and a group of foreign friends came to our company. They said that they were invited by you to come and wait for you, but I didn't expect that the moment they arrived, all the radio reporters came. Only then did I react. It turned out to be Daniela, Marcus, Rodriguez, these masters themselves. Director Yang, you're really amazing. How did you manage to invite all of them here? Master? What master? Yang Chun thought about it for a while before he slapped his forehead and understood. It seemed that Ron's understanding of his orders was too advanced. He actually helped Huilin to invite a group of world-class workers. Suddenly, a reporter ran to a spot not far behind Yang Cheng with a cameraman, faced the camera, and started broadcasting the live news. Dear viewers, last night, a seemingly ordinary international flight landed at Beijing International Airport. What was even more unbelievable was that within this group of foreigners that had just arrived in Yen capital, there were actually more than 10 grandmasters of the international flowering world. The German makeup master Daniela, the French fashion master Benjamin, the famous stage lighting master Sean Steve, and the popular music and television director Marcus Kevin in Europe and the United States in recent years, along with more than 10 masters, had actually arrived in Beijing in the same class. Just this morning, these irresistible masters entered the Beijing entertainment branch of our country's famous multinational corporation, Yulei International. According to the reporter's recent investigation, it is highly likely that the arrival of these masters has something to do with Yulei Entertainment's upcoming super newcomer, Hui Lin. Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't know whether this sudden development was good or bad, but it was obvious that Hui Lin's fame was going to rise again. Although the building was surrounded by reporters, it was still easy for Yang Cheng to squeeze in. The security guard had already told him that it was Yang Cheng, so he didn't stop him. After Yang Cheng took the elevator into the company, Zhuang Feng and the others were already waiting at the elevator door. When they saw Yang Cheng, they immediately went forward and said excitedly, "Director, the masters are already waiting for you in the meeting room. Hurry up." The eyes of the management of the branch company were filled with stars, as if they could already see the bright future. They were extremely excited. To an artist, fame was an absolute advantage. Before Hui Lin even debuted, she had already accumulated a lot of popularity. First, she was popular when Kristen and Yu Yonhee were the judges. Now, she had the help of so many international masters. Coupled with Hui Lin's natural talent in singing, it would be hard for her not to be popular all over the world. Yang Cheng didn't think too much about it. He walked into the meeting room leisurely and saw a group of foreigners with different hair colors sitting and waiting. Laura, whom he met last night, was also among them. However, her status was relatively low in the group, so she seemed to be rather timid. When everyone saw Yang Cheng's figure, they stood up together and bowed to Yang Cheng excitedly. Some of them were already old and seemed to be around the age of Yang Cheng's grandfather. However, they were so excited that their eyes turned red, as if they had seen their idol. Hui Lin was also sitting at the meeting table. However, she didn't know any foreign languages, so it was her first time seeing so many foreigners. Before Yang Cheng arrived, she was a little unnaturally shy. Zhuang Feng and the others stood outside the meeting room, not daring to breathe loudly. A staff member asked in a low voice, "Vice CEO Zhuang, are we dreaming? I've only seen these masters in magazines. I've never been to Huaxia before. They're just like legendary figures. That master Daniela is said to be a makeup artist for the royal princess, and that director Marcus is shooting a music video for the Queen of Heaven, Kristen. If any of them appeared, it would probably cost tens of millions of yuan. Don't talk. Listen up." Zhuang Feng stopped them, and everyone listened attentively. At this time, Yang Cheng had already gestured for everyone to sit down. He smiled and said in English, "Although I know that all of you are from different countries, for the sake of convenience, I'll speak in English. However, after today, I hope that all of you can learn more Mandarin when you have the time. After all, in the next few years, you might have to spend most of your time working in Huaxia." Seeing that no one had any objections, Yang Cheng said with an evil smile, "Ron and Catherine misunderstood my original intention. I only wanted to send an elite team to Huaxia to help my sister, Miss Hui Lin, become a qualified actress. However, I didn't expect that they would invite everyone here. But since all of you are here, you should be mentally prepared, right?" Everyone nodded and rushed to express their sincerity. "Sir, it's my honor to be able to serve you while I'm still alive," Daniela, the woman who seemed to be the leader, said with a smile. "Your image is far more amiable and warm than we imagined. Thank you for giving us this opportunity." Yang Cheng couldn't help but laugh. "Why? Do you guys think that I'm a cruel demon who would slap you every time we meet?" Daniela's face stiffened, and she quickly smiled apologetically. "No, sir, please don't misunderstand. Most of us here are only able to achieve what we have today because of your protection. Our families, our companies, they're all under your protection. We're willing to use the rest of our lives to thank you for your selfless help." Yang Cheng waved his hand. "There's no need to be so formal. To be honest, I don't know what I've done for you. I think you owe me a favor only because that old man Ron took my money to make some investments for you, or because Sauron took my soldiers to help you settle some troubles. I don't care about these things. Although you won't remember us in your broad heart, we will always remember your kindness, said Director Marcus, who had a long and thin face, humbly. Yang Chung reached out and pulled Hui Lin up from the chair, who didn't dare to speak. He let the girl stand beside him and said to everyone, I don't need your abilities, but my wife's sister and I are planning to enter the entertainment industry. She's about to release her album and hold a concert. Everyone here, there are musicians, producers, choreographers, music television directors, lawyers, managers, and so on. I hope that from today onwards, all of you will do your best to help this Miss Lin. Just treat this as your gratitude to me. Although Hui Lin didn't understand what Yang Chung was saying, she still smiled shyly and waved to everyone. Everyone immediately greeted him in a friendly manner, expressing their enthusiasm for this job. Yang Chung then said, I don't like to owe people anything. I know that many of you here are influential figures in the international arena. It's overkill to ask you to come to Huaxia and pave the way for a girl. So, I promise you today that as long as you work for Miss Lin, I'll provide protection for you, your family, and your businesses for the rest of your lives. When everyone heard this, they immediately thanked him again and again in excitement. They were like children who had eaten honey, completely unlike how successful people should be. Zhuang Feng and the rest who were outside the door were confused. They didn't understand what Yang Chung was talking about. But Daniela and the rest were very clear that as long as this sir provided the word protection, it was equivalent to having a pass to both the legal and illegal forces in Europe and America. Anyone, not to mention the mafia, even the National Security Department, would have to think twice before touching them. Yang Chung waited for everyone to quieten down, then revealed a cold smile and said, Everyone seems to be very happy. Although I don't want to disturb your good mood, I have to say this first. If I find out that any of you didn't fulfill your responsibilities and looked down on my sister because of your status and acted arrogant and domineering at work, I believe you wouldn't want to know what the consequences would be. Everyone felt a chill from the bottom of their bones when they heard this. The happiness they felt earlier was gone, and they were all in fear and trepidation. Seeing the situation, Yang Chung felt that it was about time, so he smiled gently and said, All right, let's not talk about other things. What I want to say is that I'll pay for everyone's necessities. Although I know that you don't lack money, we're a legal enterprise. We'll hire you, and we'll provide you with your salaries. Don't worry, sir. We'll do our best, Daniela and the rest agreed. Just when Yang Chung was about to let Hui Lin get to know them better, his phone vibrated. Yang Chung wondered if it was Tang, one who hadn't seen him for more than a day and was looking for him. But when he picked up the call, he realized that it was an unfamiliar number. Almost every time an unfamiliar number called, nothing good would come out of it. But Yang Chung had no choice but to pick up. Who are you looking for? Yang Chung asked. The voice on the other side of the phone was a little familiar. It was a middle-aged man. Yang Chung, do you still remember me? Yang Chung thought for a while and vaguely remembered this voice. He hesitated and asked, Premier Ning, that's right, it's me. I heard that you're in Beijing. I want to find some time to meet you. I was going to get my secretary to call you, but I think it's better to look for you myself to show my sincerity. How about it? Can we meet? Ning Guangyao smiled and asked abruptly. Chapter 667. Yang Chung fell silent. His expression suddenly became so calm that the people around him didn't dare to breathe too loudly. After thinking for a while, Yang Chung said slowly, All right, time and place. Let's have lunch together at noon. I'll send you an address. I'll be waiting for you there at midnight, Ning Guangyao said. Yang Chung agreed and hung up. He turned to the crowd and said, I've said what I wanted to say. As for your work from now on, do it according to the company's schedule for Lin Hui. The crowd nodded. They knew what they had to do when it came to work. Yang Chung then called Zhuang Feng, who had been too afraid to enter the meeting room. He said, Deputy Director Zhuang, I want to make things clear today. I invited these foreign friends from afar to help our Lin Hui. They're not here to be employees of the company. The only thing they have to do is to serve Lin Hui. As for other artists and other businesses of the company, they can reject them all. I don't want to hear anyone use my name to make these friends do things they don't want to do. Zhuang Feng wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and nodded with a fawning smile. He also understood that among these people, only Yang Chun could make them trust him. Although he didn't know the specific reason, even if someone lent him 3 guts, he wouldn't dare to do so. Any one of these people was not someone a small company's deputy director, like him, could afford to offend. Daniela and the rest looked at Yang Chun gratefully. They thought that they were selling themselves to Lei International. They didn't expect that they would only need to serve one artist. This way, it wouldn't be a disgrace to their status as international masters. They would just treat it as training a newcomer. Moreover, she was the sister of this big shot. It was an honor. In the following time, they naturally had to think of a way to deal with the reporters outside. Just as the management team was thinking about how to explain, the famous Italian agent, Downey, stood up and said, "There's no need to explain too much. Since we're going to work for Miss Lin Hui in the future, let's take this opportunity to hold a press conference. Everyone just attend. I'll explain the situation." The multilingual translator who came along with him told everyone what Donnie had said. Zhuang Feng's eyes lit up. If they did that, it would indeed be a good publicity tool. With so many international masters gathered in Beijing, most of them had never been to Huaxia. They were all here for Lin Hui. In that case, Lin Hui's reputation would skyrocket once again. But with so many respected masters suddenly appearing, the media will be very suspicious. A staff member said worriedly. Downey smiled and shook his head. "We want the media to suspect that we're here for other reasons. To maintain Miss Lin Hui's exposure, we need not only her singing ability, but we also need a lot of hype. We can casually say some reasons, but the media will definitely investigate a lot of information. In the end, even if we make up a story, there will still be a lot of news. But one thing is for sure, given our influence, the media won't write negative news. They'll only make Miss Lin Hui's background sound mysterious and alluring." Zhuang Feng and the others suddenly understood. They hurriedly ordered the company's event manager to announce the press conference. Hui Lin was stunned. She pinched the corner of Yang Cheng's clothes and whispered worriedly, "Brother Yang, can I really do it? There are so many foreign seniors, I'm a little scared." "What's there to be afraid of? They're just ordinary people. They just look different from you. They're much simpler than the people you met before who killed people for no reason. If you don't like someone, you can take a sword and kill a few of them. Moreover, with me here, who would dare to look down on you?" Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows and laughed. "I'm not going to cut people with a sword." Hui Lin pouted, but after thinking about it, she realized that she was not an ordinary singer and would not be bullied by anyone. Perhaps she would have to protect them if anything happened. Therefore, she was not afraid anymore. Soon, the press conference was held in the conference room downstairs. The cameras kept flashing, taking pictures of the international masters who were like a group of tourists. As a top-notch manager who had helped many international superstars and queens become famous, Downey quickly calmed down the atmosphere and answered the reporters' questions fluently. On one hand, he showed how much he valued Lin Hui, and, on the other hand, he added to Lin Hui's mysteriousness. The reporters' original interest in the masters was shifted to Lin Hui. In the end, as the deputy director, Zhuang Feng did not forget to spread the news of Lin Hui's album and concert. It was free publicity. Yang Cheng watched quietly, treating himself as an ordinary staff member. When he saw Hui Lin sitting nervously in front of the cameras, he could not help but sigh. The silly little nun who went down the mountain to pick him up had become a star in front of the cameras. It was really unexpected. When it was almost time to meet with Ning Guangyao, Yang Cheng sent Hui Lin a text message and left the conference room quietly. The address given by Ning Guangyao was a secluded summer resort in the east of Beijing City. There were quite a few farmers' restaurants along the periphery of the resort, and there were also quite a few residential areas interspersed among them. Yang Cheng did not expect Ning Guangyao to choose such a crowded place. Fortunately, the environment was quiet and there was not much traffic. It was as if he had temporarily left the hustle and bustle of a mature city. After driving into a farmhouse restaurant that Ning Guangyao had pointed out, Yang Cheng immediately saw a closed sign hanging outside the restaurant. There were only 2 cars outside the restaurant, an A8 and an ordinary Passat. Yang Cheng knew that Ning Guangyao had booked the restaurant. When he walked into the restaurant, a bodyguard in black obviously recognized Yang Cheng. He made a please gesture and invited Yang Cheng to the open-air dining area behind the restaurant. To Yang Cheng's surprise, there was a large artificial lake behind the farmhouse. The whole farmhouse was built around the lake. Around the small lake were tables placed in a winding manner. At this moment, there were only 2 figures sitting at one table. The bodyguards were standing dozens of meters away. One of them was a middle-aged man in a suit and tie. He looked like he had just finished a formal meeting. It was Ning Guangyao, whom he had met several times. As for the other young man in a light blue shirt, it turned out to be Ning Guodong, whom he had met in the club yesterday. When Yang Cheng saw Ning Guodong also saw Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng was fine, but Ning Guodong's eyes suddenly seemed to be on fire. "Dad, the mysterious guest you asked me to come here today is him." Ning Guodong suddenly turned to look at his father. He was very excited. He was originally very excited today. But after he was scolded by Ning Guangyao because of Lin Ruoxi, he didn't have any contact with Ning Guangyao after he returned to Yanjing. He even moved out. But today, Ning Guangyao actually broke the ice for the first time. He asked him to come to this farmhouse that Ning Guangyao liked very much. He even said that he wanted to meet a mysterious guest for him. Ning Guodong thought that it was his boss. Ning Guangyao planned to meet him and support him. He was secretly excited. After all, it seemed that Ning Guangyao didn't give up on him. He still planned to train him to be his successor. But he didn't expect that it was Yang Cheng. Ning Guangyao glared at his son. He got up and smiled gently at Yang Cheng. "Yang Cheng, come and sit. I haven't seen you for a long time." Yang Cheng glanced at Ning Guodong and pretended that he didn't exist. He smiled and said, "We don't seem to be familiar with each other. You don't have to treat me like an official." Then he sat down in the seat opposite Ning Guangyao. "I'm giving you face, but you don't want it," Ning Guodong said coldly. Yang Cheng couldn't be bothered to look at him. He said leisurely, "Even if I don't have face, there are still people who kneel to me." "What did you say?" Ning Guodong stood up and roared as if he had been stabbed in the foot. "Guodong, sit down." Ning Guangyao yelled angrily. "Dad, he scolded me. Don't you know what he did to your son?" Ning Guodong patted his chest and shouted. Ning Guangyao's face was dark. "Shut up. It's better to squash enmity than keep it alive. I asked you to come here because I wanted you to settle the matter. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Sit down. Is it something that can be solved?" Ning Guodong was out of breath. He shook his head and smiled painfully. "Did you ask me to come here today to embarrass me again? You're actually helping an outsider scold your own son. You're really a good father. If you have anything to say, say it today. We're all adults with heads and brains. As men, what's the point of mocking each other?" Ning Guangyao said solemnly, "If you want to get back your face, don't embarrass yourself here. Sit down. You're saying that I'm embarrassing?" Ning Guodong's face turned pale. He clenched his fists and said, "Fine. Since you think I'm embarrassing you, then I'll leave. You can slowly eat and chat with him." After Ning Guodong said that, he picked up his coat and walked out without looking back. Ning Guangyao shouted twice, but it was useless. He dejectedly sat back on his chair. His face alternated between green and white. It was obvious that he was quite angry. Yang Cheng picked up the teapot and poured himself a cup of green tea. He took a sip and said with a chuckle, "I thought that because I'm such a fool, my family would be so messy. But I didn't expect that Premier Ning doesn't have many women, but his family is even messier than mine." TSK. Chapter 668. Ning Guangyao acted as if he didn't hear Yang Cheng's half-mocking and half-joking words. He took the teapot from Yang Cheng's hands and poured himself some tea. He drank it all in one gulp, and his expression finally calmed down. After a long silence, Ning Guangyao smiled bitterly and said, "I've let you see a joke. I didn't expect that the hatred between you and Guodong has reached the point where you're not even allowed to sit down and talk. I miscalculated. I think you've misunderstood. Yang Qing leaned back on the rattan chair and yawned lazily. He said, "It's your son who has a grudge against me. He's not qualified enough for me to hate him." Ning Guangyao didn't get angry. He smiled calmly and said, "The first time I met you, I thought you were very overbearing and arrogant. Now it seems that it's indeed so. It depends on who is sitting in front of me," Yang Cheng said. Ning Guangyao nodded and said, "I sincerely hope that you can ease your relationship with Guodong. Even if you can't become friends, I don't want you to become enemies." Premier Ning, if there's a man who thinks about your wife all day long, can you have a good relationship with him? Yang Cheng asked with a cold smile. Ning Guangyao's expression changed. He seemed to have recalled something in his heart. He poured 2 cups of tea and sighed. "I haven't asked yet. How is her family?" "Who?" Yang Cheng smiled weirdly and stared at Ning Guangyao. Ning Guangyao didn't dare to look Yang Cheng in the eye. He tried his best to be calm and said, "Naturally, your mother and your wife. My mother is quite happy in Zhonghai. Although there are some troubles occasionally, I know that she likes her current life. As for my wife, she's quite busy with work every day. Although she doesn't say it, I know that she's not doing well," Yang Cheng said. Ning Guangyao was stunned and blurted out, "What's wrong with Ruashi? Or too tired? You seem to be very concerned about my wife," Yang Cheng asked with an evil smile. "I thought Premier Ning only had a relationship with my mother." Ning Guangyao hurriedly forced a smile and said, "Haha, I've seen that child. It's not easy for her to shoulder such a burden at such a young age. I admire her very much, so I couldn't help but ask out of concern." "Then I'll have to thank Premier Ning for his concern. If you want to say that our family's Ruashi isn't doing very well, it was your precious son who scared her that time. Ever since your son showed Ruashi Lin Kuan's medical records, it was hard for Ruashi to be happy anymore," Yang Cheng said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Ning Guangyao's hand, which was holding the teacup, trembled slightly. He forced a smile and said, "I'm very sorry about that. I've already called to explain. That medical record was fake. You don't have to worry too much about your family." Yang Cheng's gaze turned cold. "Premier Ning, do you know who first discovered that medical record?" Ning Guangyao raised his head and looked at Yang Cheng in confusion. "It was me," Yang Cheng said. Ning Guangyao was stunned. A trace of uneasiness flashed in the depths of his eyes. Yang Cheng said indifferently, "That day, after Lin Kuan died, his attending doctor called his family to his office. That doctor surnamed Jiao took out that medical record in front of me. It was clearly recorded that Lin Kuan had a congenital absence of seminal vesicles at that time. That doctor even threatened me to use that medical record to extort hundreds of millions. I didn't give him any money. I only warned him that if it was leaked out, I would take his life. But I didn't expect that there would be someone who, in order to deal with me, would investigate everything about my family, Ruashi. In the end, after some unknown twists and turns, that medical record fell into your son's hands." Ning Guangyao was speechless. He silently drank his tea. "Premier Ning, I know better than you whether Lin Kuan has the ability to reproduce. Furthermore, I can tell you that the servant that we hired back then, Mother Wang, who is also in our house now, had witnessed Lin Kuan's marriage. When the old CEO was still alive, he had already revealed this matter to Mother Wang. Since he didn't call that day, we already knew that the medical record was real," Yang Cheng said. Ning Guangyao took a deep breath and smiled stiffly. "Is that so? That's so sad. I've been careless. But this matter is also sad, so let's not talk about it anymore." Yang Cheng shook his head. "I still haven't gotten to the main point. The reason why I agreed to come today was to make things clear." "Young man, what do you want to say?" Ning Guangyao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. Yang Cheng's expression did not change in the slightest as he said seriously, "That day, I accompanied Ruashi to visit her mother and grandmother's grave. When I was going up the mountain, I saw a familiar Audi 8 leaving from the foot of the mountain, and that car happened to be the one I saw outside the military compound." "Premier Ning, your car." Ning Guangyao's body slightly stiffened as he forced a smile and said, "Is that so? I think you must have seen wrongly. I've never been to any cemetery." "Is that so? The bouquet of redbud flowers in front of my late mother-in-law's grave was not given by the premier?" Yang Cheng asked with a smile. Of course not, hee hee. Ning Guangyao's temples began to sweat. Yang Cheng sneered. Premier Ning, are you still going to pretend to be stupid? Not to mention my eyesight. It's impossible for me to recognize the license plate wrong. You clearly knew my mother and my late mother-in-law, Xue Zijing, in university. Is this a fact that can be covered up? What are you trying to say? Ning Guangyao asked solemnly. What I want to say is, no matter how much you quibble, no matter how much you try to cover it up, you can't change the fact that you are Lin Ruoshi's biological father. In an instant, the air seemed to have been sucked out. Ning Guangyao's eyes widened, bloodshot, and his body trembled slightly. It was difficult for him to maintain the prestige of the premier. Yang Cheng looked as if he had sentenced someone to death, as he indifferently looked at the middle-aged man in front of him, not batting an eyelid. Ha ha! Ning Guangyao suddenly laughed out loud, pointed at Yang Cheng, and said, Yang Cheng, oh Yang Cheng, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak nonsense. Don't mention this matter. I'll pretend you never said it. Why not? Yang Cheng smiled evilly and said, Do you think that if I don't mention it, others won't know? Enough. Ning Guangyao let out a loud shout and said angrily, I don't want to continue this topic. If you don't want to say anything else, leave immediately. I'll come as I please, I'll leave as I please, but I have to finish what I have to say. Yang Cheng didn't budge an inch and said coldly, I'll tell you the truth. If you don't want others to know, don't do it. Actually, the old CEO was very clear about your affair with my mother-in-law back then, but he never exposed it in secret. Furthermore, my mother has already proven that she saw you sneaking in a Zhonghai back then, and that time coincides with the time when Ruoshi was born. I don't even know what you're talking about. Ning Guangyao said angrily. It's useless for you to deny it. Even if you don't admit it, my mother, Mother Wang, and even other people who were aware of what happened back then, all know the truth. Yang Cheng sneered and said, Do you think you could deny it even if you die? Among the photos of my mother-in-law when she was alive, any one of them with you would be able to explain a lot of things. Moreover, at the back of some of the photos, there are even poems like I miss you day by day, and we drink the Yangtze River together. If it's not a lover, could it be my mother-in-law's unrequited love? A trace of sorrow flashed through Ning Guangyao's eyes, and he stared blankly, speechless. Premier Ning, let me tell you the truth. Yang Cheng placed his hands on the table and said loudly, If it wasn't for the fact that I had already thought that you were Ruoshi's father and Ning Guodong was Ruoshi's half-brother, I would have killed Ning Guodong in Ruoshi's office a long time ago. Just based on the fact that he used the medical records to threaten Ruoshi, I wish I could dismantle all of his bones. Why the F***CK? Do you think your son can jump to the present? Do you think I'm taking care of your Ning family? Take care of you. Scram. I just don't want my woman to be sad. Do you understand? Ning Guangyao's mouth was half open. He obviously didn't realize that the matter had already been understood by Yang Cheng at that time, and there were still so many complicated factors. After Yang Cheng finished speaking, he scratched his head and controlled his emotions. Seeing Ning Guangyao standing there in a daze, he earnestly said, Premier Ning, go and see Ruoshi. Chapter 669. Ning Guangyao was stupefied, as if he didn't hear Yang Cheng's words. After a long time, under Yang Cheng's expectant gaze, he slightly shook his head. No, I won't go see her. Ning Guangyao said shakily, his eyes filled with sorrow. Why? Yang Cheng's face revealed a hint of disappointment. Don't tell me you still refuse to admit that she is your biological daughter? Ning Guangyao's eyes were also a little red, but his gaze was incomparably resolute. It is precisely because she is my daughter that I will not see her. Yang Cheng felt a headache coming on. A wave of vexation made him feel uncomfortable if he didn't spit it out. Premier Ning, do you know why I'm willing to say so much to you? Actually, with my personality, I don't want to say so much to you, but I've always felt that you're different from many people, and that I should tell you this. I think you should have known that Ruoshi was your daughter a long time ago. So even though you didn't see her all these years, you should have secretly paved the way for her. That was what her grandmother wanted to see when she was alive, to borrow your strength to protect Yulei International. Otherwise, It would have been impossible for Lin Jigua to help Ruashi until now, since you've always had her in your heart. And now that Ruashi knows that you're her biological father, don't you think it's too cruel for you to not see her, even if it's just for once? Ning Guangyao still shook his head and said, "What can I do if I go and see her? It's better not to see her." Bullshit. Yang Cheng couldn't help but say, "What kind of bullshit theory is this? It's just a meeting. Could it be that Ruashi is going to rely on you, the premier's father, to beg for anything? She only needs your approval, just a little comfort in her heart, to let her know that you haven't abandoned her. That's enough. I've never abandoned her, but I can't see her." Ning Guangyao raised his voice. "You can't control the feelings between people. Maybe I can, but that child is still so young. Can she control it? If we met once, there might be a second or third time. If outsiders found out about our relationship, what would happen to my current job, career, and family? What would those who supported me think if they knew I had an illegitimate daughter? What will my wife think of me? What would Guodong think of him as his father? What would become of the Ning family? How can I set an example for my subordinates? Yang Cheng, you have to get this straight. I'm not like you who can do whatever you want. I'm the prime minister of this country, the premier of Huaxia. What I do every day may affect the lives of millions of civilians. This could lead to disputes between countries and even world wars. How could I make such a small mistake on my own?" When Ning Guangyao spoke of his emotions, his body trembled, his face turned red, and he panted heavily with tears in his eyes. Yang Cheng clenched his teeth tightly, then sneered and said disdainfully, "Humph, what a dignified speech. A bunch of disgusting theories. You're still young, so you can't understand. My position is like walking on thin ice," Ning Guangyao said coldly. Yang Cheng snorted and said, "I only know that there is no excuse for parents to abandon their children. I didn't abandon her. I watched her grow up in secret. If it wasn't for me, do you think she would have grown up so smoothly? Do you think Ulay International would be where it is today?" Ning Guangyao almost growled in a low voice. At this moment, the confrontation between the two of them by the lake seemed to make the breeze on the lake seem difficult. The ripples were long, and the water was calm. Yang Cheng was silent for a moment before he raised his head. His eyes were emotionless, but his voice was a little hoarse as he said, "Premier Ning, you should know that in the past, I didn't have any parents either." Ning Guangyao nodded with a gloomy expression. "At that time, I didn't have any illusions about my parents at all. So, when my mother and that man appeared in my life, besides being surprised, I also felt disgusted and repulsed. I hate them from the bottom of my heart. If it wasn't for what they did to me, I wouldn't have that hellish past. I've never been so happy for what I have now, because if anyone can survive what I've gone through, then all of this is just a pitiful compensation. I'm just a coincidence. Out of countless people, I'm the only one who can survive until now. Beneath my feet is a mountain of flesh and bones. So, I don't intend to acknowledge them. I tell myself that there are people who abandoned me before. I don't need them to give me a disgusting familial love now." Hearing this, Ning Guangyao's eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess, and he faintly sighed. Yang Cheng paused for a moment before continuing. "That day, the old man came to my house and said that my mother was imprisoned. Because she wanted to see me and acknowledge me, she was imprisoned by that man. I originally thought that this had nothing to do with me. Who told her to abandon me back then? All of this should be retribution. However, Ruashi wanted me to save my mother. She said, 'In this world, husband and wife can divorce, friends can gather and break up, colleagues can change. Only parents and children, from the moment they are born, will not leave each other in life and death.'" Ning Guangyao closed his eyes, but tears seeped out from the corner of his eyes. He placed his hand on the table and tightly gripped the teacup, as if he was going to crush it. "I can ignore anyone who says those words to me, but I can't resist what this silly woman said to me." Yang Cheng laughed self-deprecatingly and said, "You don't know how silly she is. Since she was young, she recognized a man who couldn't have children as her father. Moreover, she was lied to by her beloved grandmother for more than 20 years, always believing that it was true. She worked hard, stayed up late, and worked overtime. In the business world, she turned herself into a poisonous scorpion that no one dared to approach. Unlike other girls at this age, she spent a lot of time putting on makeup, looking for a partner, going to the nightclub, going to the bar. In her life, other than work, there was still work. However, she worked so hard to support such a large company. But there was still a man who wasn't even her biological father who was going to hold her back. That man hated her to the core, hated her for taking away the property that originally belonged to him. However, she endured it all the time and even gave that man money, gave that man a car, gave that man a mistress. In the end, she was kidnapped by that man and was even about to be killed. Ning Guangyao lowered his head and supported his forehead with his hand, as if he couldn't bear to continue listening. But Yang Chan didn't have any intention of stopping. He solemnly said, "It was under this kind of so-called kinship that woman, after finding out that Lin Cohen wasn't her biological father, actually told me that I shouldn't abandon my mother, told me that it's hard to cut off kinship. How could I not feel heartache? How could I not agree with her? How could I bear to not listen to her? That's why I barged in that day and brought my mother out. And now, it seems that I was right to listen to her. Don't say any more. Don't say any more." Ning Guangyao painfully rubbed his eyes and said in a low voice, "Why don't you say it? Are you feeling guilty?" Yang Chang chuckled. "Do you remember that my mother was willing to use her body to block bullets for me? Or is it that my mother disregarded her reputation and lived with me for my sake?" "Yang Cheng, I've already said it before. I'm different from others. Xiuhua can do it, but I can't," Ning Guangyao said. Yang Cheng said, "We're both biological parents. Why can't you? Besides, it's just letting you see Ruashi once. That woman doesn't say it out loud, and she's cold, but in her heart, do you know how much she cherishes her family? She doesn't expect you to give her anything, and she doesn't need that. What Ning family? What prime minister? She doesn't care at all. She just wants you to personally admit that you are her father. Premier Ning, do you know? That day, when you called home and told Ruashi that the medical record was fake, it was when we confirmed that you were her father." "What?" Ning Guangyao was stunned. Just like that, Yang Cheng smiled bitterly and said, "Do you know how cruel you are to Ruashi? She just found out that you were her biological father who abandoned her mother and daughter many years ago, but you immediately told her that the medical record was fake. In such a short period of time, in Ruashi's life, you abandoned her twice in a row. What kind of heartless father would abandon his own daughter twice in a row?" Chapter 670. Enough. 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 Ning Guangyao couldn't listen to it anymore. He stopped Yang Cheng and panted, Don't bring this up again. I've already said what I wanted to say." Yang Cheng sneered. "What? You want me to leave? Don't worry, I'm not really going to eat with you." With that, he got up to leave. Ning Guangyao quickly stopped him. "Wait, I haven't said what I wanted to say." Yang Cheng tried his best to calm himself down. "If you have something to say, just say it. I feel terrible every second I spend with you." "You." Ning Guangyao had never met someone who didn't take him seriously. He suppressed his anger and said, "If that's the case, I'll make it short. As far as I know, you have a good relationship with Elder Tang of the Tang family. His granddaughter, Tang Wan, also has an unusual relationship with you. And the Dunadali family seems to be very close to you. Is that so?" Yang Cheng sneered. "Since you've already investigated everything, why bother asking? The Ning family is the most powerful of the 4 major families. I never thought that you wouldn't know about me. As far as I know, Elder Yang likes you very much. Compared to your younger brother, Yang Lai, you may look like a slob, but based on your past experiences and your own strength, you are the most likely successor of the Yang family. And Elder Yang has already expressed his goodwill to you. I think it won't be long before you enter the Yang family and get the political and military power that Yang family has." "What are you trying to say?" Yang Cheng said coldly. Ning Guangyao forced a smile. "At present, only the Ning family is not on good terms with you because of Guodong. But I hope you can put aside your personal grudges and think about the big picture. If you really become the leader of the Yang family and still have obvious conflicts with the Ning family, it will be very disadvantageous for Huaxia. Maybe you don't really understand the Yang family, but I can reveal some things to you. In terms of Huaxia's military, although the Yang family's military power is mainly the Jiangnan military led by Yang Pejuan. In fact, about half of the military generals are loyal to the Yang family. The military is the hardest thing to change. Your great-grandfather, Yang Yi, injected the spirit of the army into Huaxia's army. Even now, that will never be erased. That is why Elder Yang's position is so important. It's too early to talk about this. Also, if you don't want any conflicts, just control your son. Yang Cheng curled his lips. Of course I will control Guodong, Ning Guangyao said seriously. I just hope that, for the sake of Ruashi and the fact that we are father and son-in-law, you won't treat the Ning family and the Yang family as enemies. Otherwise, you should understand the logic of when the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. You are not in our position, so you don't understand. The Li family and the Tang family are not as simple as they seem on the surface. Yang Cheng suddenly laughed out loud. He laughed so hard that he swayed back and forth, as if he was about to convulse. Ning Guangyao didn't understand why. He frowned and said, "Why are you laughing? Are my words very funny?" "Funny?" Yang Cheng held back his laughter and said, "Very funny." Ning Guangyao was stunned. What was going on? Previously, you kept saying that you didn't want to see my wife, and because of those ridiculous reasons, you didn't want to see your own daughter. Now, you're using the fact that Ruashi is my wife as a breakthrough point to convince me. Haha, Premier Ning, you really make the best use of everything. Your plan is brilliant. Since you can use the relationship between Ruashi and you to make me do this and that, I might as well use the fact that we are father and son-in-law, and I should help you with this. Let my subordinates kill all your political enemies. How about it? Oh no, you can kill whoever you want. I can even help you kill the President of the United States. How about it? My good, Yu Zhang, Ning Guangyao said angrily. What are you saying? I am doing all this for the harmony of the two families, for the stability of Huaxia. I don't care about the F***king country. I am just an ordinary man, a woman's husband. I don't want my wife to be sad because of a heartless father. I want her to work and live happily. As for the rest, forgive me for not accompanying you. Ning Guangyao was furious. He sat on the chair and pointed at Yang Cheng, trembling and unable to say a word. Yang Cheng took a few steps out and suddenly stopped. He turned back and said, Premier Ning, I have never been a good man. I am very lecherous, do not work properly, and have no ambition. Also, I can't help but fool around. Ruashi always thinks that I am a playboy and hates me for not being able to love her wholeheartedly. I know all this, so I'm filled with guilt towards her. I dare not lose my temper at her, and I try my best to please her. But it is because of this that I realize today that compared to a man like you, I am really too noble. Compared to my late mother-in-law, Ruashi's mother, Ruashi is really too blessed. At the very least, I have never thought of letting anyone I love leave me. No matter what the situation is, I will always be responsible for the woman I love and the woman who loves me. Also, I want to tell you that I am actually very glad that I did not bring Ruashi to see you, because you are not worthy of being the father of my woman. Scram! Scram! Ning Guangyao finally couldn't help but roar. Yang Cheng looked at Ning Guangyao with an incomparably pitiful gaze, sneered, shook his head, and turned to leave. After walking out of the farmhouse, Yang Cheng raised his head to look at the gray sky and the gloomy sunlight. He muttered to himself, Ruashi baby, if not for you, I really want to kill these bastards. After taking a deep breath of the relatively fresh air, Yang Cheng suppressed the anger in his chest and drove away. In the blink of an eye, it was already past lunchtime, but Yang Cheng did not plan to give up lunch, so he called Tang Wan. You heartless man, how do you still have time to call me when you have a young policewoman accompanying you? Tang Wan's tone was full of jealousy. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. Didn't I immediately come to find you for lunch? How about I pick you up? Tang Wan snorted and said, Why don't you look at the time of lunch? I have already eaten with Tang Tang, and I am on the way to visit my uncle with Tang Dang, so I don't have time to accompany you for lunch. Also, I have to return to Zhonghai in 2 days, so I'm quite busy. You should go find Choi Yun. Yang Cheng replied with an oh, and felt a little regretful because when he was in a bad mood, he would feel much better with a mature woman like Tang Wan accompanying him. Tang Wan seemed to have sensed that Yang Cheng was in a bad mood and said apologetically, "I will accompany you next time, okay? I really can't leave now. How about I accompany you for dinner tonight?" "No need, I'm not a child." Yang Cheng smiled and told the mother and daughter not to be too tired. Then he hung up the phone. Thinking that there would not be many people eating lunch at this time, Yang Cheng still called Choi Yun. Even if he did not eat, it would be good to let that happy woman accompany him. As soon as the call went through, Choi Yun seemed to be very noisy on the other side, but she still asked with her natural high-pitched voice, "Bad guy, why are you calling me? Don't you know that I am very busy?" Yang Cheng was depressed. They were both women, but Tang Wan was gentle when she was jealous. Why was this woman so impulsive? "You haven't had lunch yet, so I wanted to ask you to eat with your sister. Have you eaten?" Yang Cheng frowned. "Why is it so noisy on your side?" Choi Yun giggled. "Of course, I am playing with my sister at the flower and bird market. Why don't you come over now? We haven't had lunch yet, and we are really hungry. We have been shopping for half a day." "Flower and bird market?" Yang Cheng broke out in a cold sweat. This pair of sisters were really strange. They did not go shopping, but went to the flower and bird market. But no matter where it was, Yang Cheng did not care. He just wanted to find someone to relieve his boredom, so that he would not always think about the Ning family's mess. So, he followed the GPS to the largest flower and bird market in Yanjing. After stopping the car, Kai Ning and Choi Yun were already waiting at the door with a smile. The two sisters were wearing the same blue and red Levi's short-sleeve shirts and denim shorts. Obviously, they were sisters. One was elegant and refined, and the other was lively and beautiful. It was really eye-catching. Yang Cheng's mood immediately improved a lot. He walked up and opened his arms to hug the two women. The two women immediately moved to the side. Kai Ning blushed and said, "Don't do this, there are so many people watching." Yang Cheng was helpless. If it was on Sheen, she would definitely jump on him, but he could not expect every woman to be so passionate. He saw that Choi Yun was already carrying a big bird cage in her hand, and it was covered with an old cloth. He asked, "What did you buy?" Chapter 671. Choi Yun stuck out her tongue and said proudly, "Big Sister helped me choose a mina." When Big Sister was studying in Sichuan, she often came into contact with all kinds of flowers, birds, and beasts. She's very good at judging birds. This bird will learn very quickly if you teach it to speak. That will also require you to be patient, Kai Ning added. "Really, Big Sister, don't you have confidence in your own sister?" Choi Yun said proudly. Kai Ning immediately nodded. Yes. Choi Yun suddenly looked like she had eaten a bitter gourd. She pouted and looked depressed. Yang Cheng pinched Choi Yun's face and said, "Stop pouting and go eat. Is there anything delicious around here?" Yes, yes. Choi Yun nodded happily and said, "I know a good Hunan restaurant on the east side of the market. I'm just afraid that you can't eat spicy food. The air there is spicy. Why are you talking so much nonsense while eating? Let's go." Yang Cheng looked at the lively Choi Yun, and his mood became lively. He let Choi Yun lead the way, and they walked to the restaurant together. When they arrived at the Hunan restaurant that Choi Yun mentioned, there weren't many people left in the restaurant. They walked to the second floor and sat down by the street. They could see the scenery of the flower and bird market. Although there was a strange smell in the air, it had to be said that this was a special dining environment. Yang Cheng didn't want to eat because he was hungry. It was more out of his love for food, and it was also a habit. Furthermore, when he was feeling down, eating a lot of food could cheer him up. Thus, he flipped through the menu and ordered more than 10 dishes. "Why do you eat so much? Are you a pig?" Choi Yun asked with her watery eyes wide open. Yang Cheng rolled his eyes. "How can you talk about your man like that? Can't you be more tactful?" Choi Yun harumphed. "If you waste food, you're dead. Even if I have to stuff food, I'll stuff it into your stomach." Yang Cheng was speechless and could only smile bitterly. One moment she was so obedient, the next moment she was so violent. This woman changed too quickly. Kai Ning was silently drinking the flower tea that wasn't of much quality. She didn't say a word. Suddenly, she thought of something and asked, Yonian, when you were buying the birds just now, did you ask the boss if you bought the feed? Choi Yun was stunned. She blinked her eyes and said, Sister, you didn't tell me to buy feed. When Yang Chung heard this, he was petrified on the spot. Kai Ning also had a strange expression on her face. After a long time, Kai Ning smiled warmly and said, Since you're not far from the shop, you should go there. The boss might even give you some. If you want mine at a talk, you have to let it eat. Choi Yun quickly nodded. She got up and picked up the birdcage and said, I'll go there for a while. You have to wait for me to come back before you eat. You can go alone. Why are you running around with the birdcage? Yang Chung said gloomily. It's none of your business. I want to develop a relationship with my bird. Choi Yun stuck out her tongue and ran downstairs. Yang Chung touched his face and shook his head, sighing, Ning Er, has your sister been like this since young? Kai Ning understood what Yang Chung meant. She couldn't help but cover her mouth and giggle for a while. She said, Did you know that when my grandfather was still alive, he once said something in front of our family? What did he say? Yang Chung asked curiously. Grandfather said, Throw Xiao Yin into the tiger's den. It won't take long for the tiger to become friends with her. Yang Chung almost spat out the tea in his mouth. He couldn't help but laugh and said, But this is also her cute side. Sometimes she acts like a child, but she insists on being such a violent policewoman. Kai Ning saw that Yang Chung was laughing happily and asked softly, You're in a much better mood now, right? Yang Chung was stunned. How do you know that I'm in a bad mood? Kai Ning pursed her lips and smiled. Because it's your mood, so I can feel it. Yang Chung was touched. He reached out his right hand to hold Kai Ning's hand and said, Ning Er, can you answer a question for me? Yes, go ahead. I have a lot of problems, but why do I get so much love from all of you? Yang Chung smiled bitterly and said, Sometimes I think it's because I can fight, I have money, and I have power. But when I think about it carefully, so what if I have these things? I can't give you a complete love, and with each of your conditions, it's not difficult to find a rich and powerful man who treats you wholeheartedly. So, Kai Ning interrupted and said, Are you feeling guilty? Yang Chung was speechless for a while, then sighed and said, I'm a little unsure. You know, when I saw you two waiting for me at the entrance of the market just now, the feeling of being looked forward to is really good, but I feel like I'm living a luxurious life. I mean emotionally. Kai Ning silently looked at Yang Chung for a while, then reached out her other hand and wrapped it around Yang Cheng's palm. She said, We didn't used to be like this. What's wrong with you today? Yang Chung laughed self-deprecatingly and said, Maybe it's because I saw a man who seemed to be living a glorious life, but actually stepped into a quagmire, so I felt a little emotional. The more I have, the more I can bear it all, or in the end, will it gradually leave me? As if caught in some complicated thoughts, Yang Chung stared blankly at the scenery outside the building, and Kai Ning also became quiet. After a long time, Kai Ning suddenly smiled sweetly and said, Do you know what your greatest strength is? Yang Chung was stunned for a while, then shook his head and said, I really don't know. What do you see in me? Kai Ning took a breath and said with a smile, I don't know how others see you, but to me, your greatest strength is not your strength, your money and power, and it's not your background. Although I can't deny that these things let me know about you, to me, they're just your name card in my opinion. Your strength is that you don't know what your strength is. This is the reason why I care about you. Yang Chung stared at the woman in front of him in a daze. Her simple words were like sweet spring water that seeped into his heart and spleen, clear and sweet. Yang Chung chuckled and tilted his body to hug Kai Ning's slender waist. He moved closer to Kai Ning's face and said, Ninger, give me a kiss. Kai Ning was startled by the sudden, intimate action. She shrunk her head and didn't dare to raise her head. Her cheeks were burning red. If you're not going to kiss, then I'll do it. Yang Chung ignored Kai Ning's shyness and kissed the woman's cheeks and earlobes a few times before letting go with a laugh. Kai Ning bit her lower lip and glared at Yang Chung with shyness, joy, and resentment. If I knew earlier, I would have said that you don't have a single good point. Yang Chung was in a good mood and wanted to tease her again, but he didn't expect to hear a woman shouting from downstairs, Thief, don't run. Everyone stop him. Stop. Hearing the familiar voice, Yang Cheng and Kai Ning looked at each other and carefully looked towards the west side of the street. It was indeed Choi Yun. The flower and bird market was crowded with people, and there were all kinds of stalls selling flowers, birds, and beasts, so it was difficult to walk. But in such a place, Choi Yun was actually pushing the passers-by and running quickly, shouting that she wanted to catch a thief. Yang Cheng's eyesight was extraordinary. He looked into the distance and saw a young man who looked to be around 13 or 14 years old. He was also running quickly and looked very embarrassed. He should be the thief that Choi Yun found. The passers-by along the way were shocked by Choi Yun's imposing manner. Seeing the young man running away, most of them chose to watch from the side. This was also the common attitude of the general public. Moreover, it was just a young man. Even if no one stopped him, he would be caught sooner or later. TSK. She really keeps the heart of a police officer who gets rid of the violent. Yang Cheng had a headache and smiled bitterly. He signaled Kai Ning with his eyes, and they went downstairs together. Since things had already come to this, they couldn't let Choi Yun run around blindly chasing after the thief. They were worried that she would cause a commotion again. But in such a public place, it was impractical to use qigong. So, Yang Cheng and Kai Ning could only use their flexible bodies to quickly pass through the crowd. Although they weren't very fast, they quickly caught up with Choi Yun. After all, Choi Yun had undergone special training, so her physical fitness was not what it used to be. The thief was just an ordinary person. Just his physical strength alone couldn't keep up. After running 2 streets, he tripped outside a bonsai shop in the flower and bird market and fell to the ground. Chapter 672. Little bastard. I've caught you. Let's see where you can run to. Choi Yun panted, her face red. She stepped forward and grabbed the skinny young man. The young man panted and cried, I'm not a thief. I'm not a thief. Oomph. You still want to argue? Choi Yun gleefully snatched a snakeskin wallet from the young man's hand and said, Don't tell me this wallet is yours. Many people gathered around, pointing and whispering, as if feeling sorry for the young man. Kai Ning pulled her sister's hand and said, Yonyan, he's still a child. Don't be too violent. Talk nicely. Sis, you don't know, but I've been a police officer for so many years. I know very well that these little rascals who don't learn good things must be dealt with harshly. Only then will they leave a deep impression. Choi Yun proudly pointed at the young man and said, Kid, what's your name? Where do you live? How old are you? Tell me everything, or else I won't send you to your parents, but to the police station. When a young man heard that he was going to be sent to the police station, he cried even harder and repeatedly said, No. Yang Cheng couldn't stand it anymore and said, Yonyan, you've scared him to tears. This isn't Zhonghai. He'll think you're the police chief trying a case. Why don't you just let the security here handle it? Choi Yun lightly snorted. There's not even a shadow of the security guard. Without waiting for Choi Yun to finish, a gorgeous woman in her 30s suddenly came out of the crowd. She carried a large handbag and wore high heels. When she saw the crying young man in Choi Yun's hands, she screamed, Let go of my son. After screaming, the woman rushed forward and snatched the young man from Choi Yun's hands. She hugged him tightly and glared at Choi Yun and yelled, Why did you make my son cry? Are you crazy? Choi Yun was stunned. She pointed at the woman and stammered, You, aren't you the one whose wallet was stolen by him? Stealing a purse? The woman was so angry that she laughed. Are you blind? I let my son take the wallet out of my bag. He wanted to buy a pearl turtle, so I told him to buy one himself. Do you think I'm blind? Or do you think everyone is blind? The surrounding crowd burst into laughter. The dramatic turn of events had turned Kai Yin into the biggest laughingstock of the crowd. Although Yang Cheng wanted to endure it, the flesh on his face began to twitch. Kai Ning touched her forehead in distress and turned her head away, as if she didn't want to admit that the person in front of her was her sister. Choi Yun frowned and looked at the wallet in her hands. She pouted and asked, How could that be? If that's the case, why did he run when I chased him? I already said I was chasing a thief. Wouldn't it be over if he told me? At this time, the young man who was being hugged by his mother finally had the courage to speak. He retorted angrily, Auntie, you were chasing me so fiercely. I thought you were going to hit me, so of course I ran. Auntie, am I that old? Choi Yun heard this and immediately widened her eyes. Wah! The young man was so scared that he started crying again. The woman panicked and said angrily, You're still scaring my son? Are you a mental patient who escaped from some hospital? Even if you want to be a hero, I advise you to grow your brain. You rushed over so fast that I didn't even see what was going on. I turned the corner and didn't see anyone. How could I stop you? Do you think I can catch up with you in high heels? I'm going crazy. If it weren't for the fact that you're a woman and that you won't be able to get married in the future, I would have sent you to the police station. You're crazy. Give me back my wallet. The woman snatched the purse back and cursed in a low voice before leaving the scene with her son, who couldn't stop crying. The onlookers roared with laughter. Seeing a beautiful woman make a fool of herself was a delightful thing for the masses. Choi Yun looked around. What are you looking at? What are you laughing at? Go and do what you need to do. Is it that funny? The crowd was also a little afraid of this violent woman, so they immediately dispersed. Yang Chung touched the back of his spine and smiled bitterly. Bureau Chief Kai, I think if I had high blood pressure, I might have been sent to heaven by you. Choi Yun pouted and glared at Yang Chung. She ignored him and threw herself into her sister's arms. Sister, that child called me Annie. He actually called me Annie. Even the usually calm Kai Ning couldn't help but frown. She said helplessly, Yonyan, that's not the point. Of course it is. I'm still young. It's not nice to be called Annie. Am I that old? No way. I need to do my skincare today. Right, sister, let's go to the cosmetics store. I'll go buy a full set of face masks. Choi Yun said. She didn't care what Kai Ning thought and dragged her out of the market. Hey, we haven't eaten yet. Yang Chung followed and reminded her. What's there to eat? You only know how to eat. If I become an Annie, you'll become an uncle, you know? Choi Yun turned around and glared at Yang Chung. She continued to drag her sister out. Yang Chung let out a long sigh. Didn't he already become an uncle in Tong Tong's words? But there was nothing he could do about this clown. It seemed like he didn't have to eat lunch. Luckily, he didn't pay the bill first. He could only let the restaurant make him a meal for free. Because the sisters took the bus out for a stroll, they got into Yang Cheng's car. Because the road was quite congested, they drove for nearly an hour before they arrived at a mall that specialized in cosmetics. After getting out of the car, Choi Yun pulled her tight-fitting t-shirt and pouted. I'm so unlucky. I chased after him for so long, and I got laughed at. I sweated all over for nothing. I went home to take a shower after buying the face masks. Why did the weather become so hot so quickly? That's why I told you not to be impulsive. You're always in such a rush. You don't have the delicacy of a girl at all. Yang Chung pouted. Choi Yun puffed out her chest and said, That's not it. I'm actually very meticulous. If you don't believe me, you can ask sister. I buy my parents' birthday presents every year, and they like them very much. I'm only impulsive when it comes to protecting social justice. Who asked me to be a police officer? People like you only know how to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger wouldn't understand. Yang Chung was speechless. You can even be an example. When a daughter buys a present for her parents, do they have to tell you that they don't like it? Without waiting for Choi Yun to refute, Kai Ning suddenly interrupted and asked, Yonyan, where's the mina that I bought for you? Choi Yun seemed to have been frozen in place. Her feet were glued to the ground. After a few seconds, she screamed in the middle of the street, Ah! I threw the bird and its feed in the market. Sigh, you're really meticulous. Yang Chung quickly turned around and pretended that he didn't know this woman. He walked towards the mall on his own. Kai Ning lowered her head silently and didn't say anything. If she went back to the market to get the bird, it would take an hour and she might not even be able to find it. Naturally, it was impossible for her to go back. Choi Yun was also aware of this. Hence, she could only admit that she had lost the bird. As for teaching Mina how to speak the human language, it could only be regarded as an illusion. When the three of them walked into the mall, Choi Yun's little mouth was still pouting. It was as if a basket could be hung on it. Seeing her like this, Yang Chung couldn't bear to see her like this. He teased, Yonyan, are you pouting because you want to kiss you here? When Choi Yun heard this, she quickly retracted her lips and looked at Yang Chung worriedly. Although she had a heroic personality, she wouldn't want to kiss him in such an occasion. Choi Yun, who had been a policewoman for many years, obviously wasn't very familiar with cosmetics for women. Kai Ning was also a person who didn't put on makeup. Hence, the two sisters chose the more famous ones. They went to L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, and other European and American brands, but they didn't think they were suitable. It was only until they went to Shiseido that they patiently chose. The waitress led the two ladies to introduce the products. As a man, Yang Cheng could only stroll around the store. Just as Yang Cheng was thinking about how he should treat himself for dinner, a man and a woman walked into the Shiseido. The man was especially eye-catching because he wore an eye patch. He was tall and well-built. The woman, on the other hand, had a sweet appearance. However, at this moment, it seemed like she was dragged here by the man. She looked very reluctant. When the man saw Yang Cheng, he was quite surprised. "Old Yang, why are you here?" It was Li Dun and Tang Xin. Chapter 673. If you can come here, why can't I? Yang Cheng gave a thumbs up to Kai Ning and Choi Yun. "You dragged a woman here, I was dragged here by a woman." Tang Xin was a little surprised to see Yang Cheng, but she still nodded and greeted him. Her attitude was much better than when she greeted Li Dun. Li Dun didn't mind at all and chuckled. "I brought Tang Xin here to buy makeup today, and I didn't expect to see you here. It seems like fate has brought us together. I know you're a generous person. Why don't we settle the bill together?" Yang Cheng was speechless. This miser wanted to take money from him the moment they met. Yang Cheng ignored him and asked Tang Xin with a smile. "Tang Xin, why did you come with him? I thought you wouldn't agree." Tang Xin said helplessly and indignantly. "He's such a shameless person. He didn't come to me, but went to my dad first. If it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have come." Li Dun was not embarrassed at all. He said proudly, "This is what it means to understand people's emotions, to move them with reason, and to communicate with my future father-in-law. This, Miss Tang Xin, don't you think I'm full of wisdom?" Tang Xin looked like she was about to faint. She rolled her eyes and didn't want to reply. Suddenly, Choi Yun hopped to Yang Cheng's side with 2 white bottles of makeup. She asked, "Yang Cheng, why don't I buy you 2 bottles? I heard from the salesperson that it's good for whitening men." Yang Cheng raised an eyebrow. "Why would I use it? I don't rely on my face to make a living." Isn't it good for you to be a gigolo?" Choi Yun laughed. Yang Cheng patted her, "But don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and go pick. We'll leave after you're done." Kai Ning walked over and nodded at Li Dun as a greeting. When she saw Tang Xin, she smiled even though she didn't know her. Tang Xin smiled and whispered, "Child Yang is quite lucky with women. No wonder Big Sister went out with Tang Tang this morning and didn't see you. So there's someone else she wants to meet in Beijing." Before Yang Cheng could say anything, Li Dun patted his chest and said, "Miss Tang Xin, you've seen it for yourself. This kind of man is undesirable. Unlike me, I'm a single man. My eyes, my mind, and even my dreams are all about you." His voice was especially loud, attracting the attention of many customers and waiters around them. Even many girls were quite envious of such a public confession. Tang Xion's face was burning red. She glared at Li Dun, not knowing what to say to him. Li Dun felt that what he said was very effective and was very pleased with himself. After that, even though Tang Xian was reluctant, Li Dun still dragged her into the shop to pick out some skincare products. Li Dun happily spent money on the woman and even helped her carry the bags. Kai Yin, on the other hand, bought a whole bunch of them. It was unknown if she knew how to use them. Kai Ning, on the other hand, only chose a small bag. She probably accompanied her sister to buy them. Since they bumped into each other, the 5 of them decided to have dinner together. Before the sky darkened, they went out for a walk. Beijing in May was not very hot. Under the sun, a warm breeze blew on the streets, and the leaves of the Chinese parasol trees swayed in the wind. The dark pedestrian streets were not very lively, but there were still many tourists from other places. Even though Tang Xian was reluctant to talk to Li Dun, she still became familiar with the Kai sisters. After all, they were all girls around the same age. Even if they did different things, they still had a lot in common. Kai Yin was the most active of them all. She kept on spouting nonsense, causing Li Dun to roll his eyes at her, even though he had always wanted to talk to her. However, he was too embarrassed to stop her. When they arrived at an outdoor cafe, the five of them sat down and ordered some cold drinks. They decided to take a break before looking for a restaurant. Yang Chung thought of something and asked Tang Xian, Tang Xian, how's the situation at home? Naturally, Yang Chung was asking about finding the culprit. Yang Chung did not plan to investigate it himself, nor did he intend to send someone to investigate. After all, this was Beijing. If he interfered in everything, it would be disrespectful to the Li family's security bureau. It would also be suspicious of him interfering with other people's domestic affairs. Therefore, Yang Chung had a plan in mind. He would wait and see while ensuring the safety of Tang Wan and the others. Tang Xian said worriedly, not yet, but the security bureau is already investigating. They have also strengthened the surveillance at home. There shouldn't be any problems. Yang Chung nodded thoughtfully. He looked at Tang Xian and said, you have to be careful too. Tang Xian felt that Yang Cheng's tone was a little strange. Her expression was a little unnatural, but she still smiled and nodded. Thank you. I will be careful. Li Dun finished his cappuccino in big gulps. What are you afraid of? I'm here. I'll kill whoever dares to touch Tang Xian. Choi Yun wrinkled her nose and said in disdain, you really think you're so powerful? You might not even be able to beat them. Hee. Li Dun winked. I can't do it, so I'll borrow your man. Miss Kai, don't be stingy. Choi Yun said shyly, he's not mine. You can take it if you want. Don't ask me. At this moment, two girls happened to pass by with colorful ice cream cones in their hands, laughing and chatting. Tang Xian's eyes lingered on the ice cream in their hands for a moment. Li Dun, on the other hand, had been paying attention to his sweetheart's facial expressions. He immediately stood up and said, Tang Xian, I'll go get you some ice cream. Tang Xian didn't expect this guy to notice her expression. Like many girls, she loved ice cream. It was just that she had been taking care of Elder Tang all these years and living in a big family. She didn't have many opportunities to eat ice cream, which was why she showed such an expression. It's fine. It's almost time for dinner. Tang Xian was a little embarrassed. This time, she didn't ignore Li Dun. After all, she was touched by his concern. Li Dun refused. Dinner is dinner, and ice cream is ice cream. If you're not hungry after eating ice cream, we'll eat later. Hey, who are you to decide when to eat? Choi Yun said unhappily. Li Dun grinned. Miss Kai, do you want one too? I'll buy it for you. Choi Yun heard this and giggled. Sure, let's eat later then. All right, get one for my sister too. I don't want one for Yang Chung. I'm afraid he'll get diabetes. Yang Chung broke out in a cold sweat. This woman changed her mind in the blink of an eye. Also, what did he have to do with diabetes? Li Dun agreed to all of them. After all, they were cheap goods. He was generous. The ice cream shop was only a few steps away. There were 3 or 4 kids who looked like primary school students waiting in line. Li Dun ran over enthusiastically. He didn't hold back his military aura at all. It was as if he wasn't going to buy ice cream, but to go through fire and water for Tang Xian. But because of this, coupled with Li Dun's burly figure and the eye patch that made him look like a one-eyed man, the kids in line ran away in fear. When the kids saw Li Dun, they immediately hid under a Chinese parasol tree. They looked at Li Dun in fear and didn't dare to buy any more ice cream. The waitress of the ice cream shop was also speechless. But seeing Li Dun's appearance, she didn't dare to say anything. She smiled and asked, Sir, what would you like to buy? Li Dun was wondering why the kids were avoiding him. When he heard the waitress's question, he said, I want everything. Every flavor. Wait. Unexpectedly, Tang Xian walked over and pushed Li Dun. She said angrily, Why are you like this? Why are you scaring the kids? The kids are scared by you. Apologize to them. And why did you cut the line? Li Dun was stunned. He looked at Tang Xian, then at the children behind him. He scratched the back of his head and smiled foolishly. Well, I just wanted to buy it for you earlier. I didn't mean to scare them. Tang Xian nodded. But you shouldn't have cut the line. They're still kids. How can you be so inconsiderate? Tang Xian was very unhappy. She pushed Li Dun away and walked to the kids. She squatted down and smiled warmly. Kids, what ice cream do you want? I'll buy it for you. Tang Xian had been with Tang Zhichen for many years. She played the role of a caretaker, so she was used to being gentle. She had a sweet appearance, and it was easy for the kids to like her. The kids' eyes lit up. A girl said in a cute voice, "Strawberry." "Oh, strawberry. Do you want to have vanilla? I recommend it to you. It's delicious." Tang Xin smiled. The little girl nodded vigorously. "Big sister, I want a mango one." Another boy yelled. All of a sudden, the kids recovered from their shock. They were no longer afraid of the ferocious-looking Li Dun. They surrounded Tang Xin and ran to the ice cream shop. Tang Xin bought the ice cream for the kids one by one and paid for it herself. Li Dun could only stand at the side in a daze. When the kids left, the little girl happily kissed Tang Xin on the cheek and left a circle of cream on her cheek. The kids ran far away, but they didn't forget to turn back and wave at Tang Xin. Tang Xin only turned around after the kids were out of sight. But the moment she turned around, she saw an extra-large ice cream cone in front of her. Li Dun was holding a large ice cream with 7 or 8 different flavors in his hand. He had a rare calm expression on his face as he said with a smile, "Don't forget about yourself after buying for the kids." Chapter 674. Under the faint golden light of the setting sun, the man standing under the faint golden light was holding a large ice cream that was a little too colorful. This was a rather strange scene, but there was something else that was growing in the air. Tang Xin paused for a moment, then pursed her dry lips and took the ice cream. This was the first gift she had ever taken from this man. Tang Xin looked up at Li Dun and realized that he was also looking at her with his only exposed eye. Her heart raced, and she quickly lowered her head. "What's wrong with me? Why do I feel this way? Is it just because this man bought me an ice cream?" But no one had ever bought him ice cream except for his mother, who had passed away. After a long time, Tang Xin still didn't eat the ice cream. Instead, she said softly, "I'm sorry. I went a little overboard just now." Li Dun shook his head. "It's nothing. I don't spend much time with people, so I don't really care about the details. As long as Miss Tang believes that I didn't mean to bully a child. To be honest, I feel honored for my choice. After all, a woman who is so gentle to other people's children will definitely take good care of her own children. I believe that when we have a child, Miss Tang Xin will be a great mother." "Child?" Tang Xin almost dropped the ice cream in her hand. She frowned and said anxiously, "Young Master Li, what are you talking about? Please don't say such meaningless things. It's impossible between us." Li Dun's serious expression immediately turned evil. He chuckled and said, "Miss Tang Xin, it's impossible. It's not said with words, it's felt with my heart. Anyway, I'm confident in our future. Don't say anything else. Hurry up and eat your ice cream, or it'll melt." Tang Xin wanted to say something else, but he walked back to his seat. Since the beginning, Yang Chun and the other two had been sitting and watching everything that happened. Kai Ning said softly beside Yang Chun, "Actually, she's not a bad person." Yang Chun looked at Kai Ning in surprise. "You seem to know something. It's just a guess, a woman's intuition." Kai Ning smiled. Yang Chun raised an eyebrow. "Or maybe she's pretending." Kai Ning shook her head. "My intuition tells me that she's not pretending." Yang Chun shrugged. "I hope our heroine's intuition is accurate." Of course, Tang Xin didn't hear any of this. She stood there in a daze for a while before returning to her seat. It took her a long time to finish the ice cream. However, since Li Dun didn't buy any ice cream for Choi Yun, dinner went on. After the meal, Li Dun sent Tang Xin home. Yang Chun drove the two girls back to the Kai Manor. When they were almost home, in the car, Choi Yun was still feeling conflicted about today's blunder. Sitting in the back seat, she leaned over and hugged Yang Cheng's neck from behind. She pouted and said, "Yang Cheng, am I too stupid? Every time I think about what happened during the day, if it was seen by someone I know, I want to kill myself." Yang Cheng freed one of his hands and patted Choi Yun's head. "I'm not talking about you. What are you thinking about? Do you really not think that I'm stupid?" Choi Yun was a little suspicious. "Look, that kind of thing never happens to me." Kai Ning sat in the passenger seat and shook her head helplessly. She didn't say a word. Yang Cheng stroked Choi Yun's cheek and pinched it. A woman who treats life with sincerity is beautiful no matter what. Compared to many women who use their brains to live, our Yonian is not stupid. Choi Yun blinked and suddenly pinched Yang Cheng's neck. She smiled happily. Darling, I know you the best. Ahem, Yang Cheng said gloomily. That's good, don't pinch my neck. I'm driving. Choi Yun giggled. Seeing that you're so sensible, I won't sleep with my sister tonight. I'll prepare a present for you. Yang Cheng heard this, and his heart started to heat up. If Choi Yun hadn't mentioned it, he would have forgotten about the lonely night before. He asked expectantly, What present? Tell me, tell me. You can come and see for yourself tonight, Choi Yun said slyly. Yang Cheng's eyes lit up. He looked at Kai Ning and smiled evilly. Ninger, why don't you come along? Kai Ning seemed to have expected this. Without saying a word, she turned on the car stereo and turned the volume to high. Then, she said, I'll listen to music. Choi Yun giggled. Sister can be shy too. Darling, look, sister is blushing. In the dim light, Kai Ning felt even more embarrassed. Finally, she couldn't help but glare at Choi Yun. She pinched her sister's face and turned it back to her. Kai Yunqing and his wife were watching the news in the living room when they saw Yang Cheng bringing the two girls home. Before Kai Yunqing could say anything, Jiang Shan stood up excitedly and asked enthusiastically, Yang Cheng, you're back. Have you had dinner? Do you want a cup of tea? Yang Cheng wasn't in the mood to eat and drink. He was in a hurry to return to Choi Yun's room in the backyard. Hence, he rejected her. However, before Yang Cheng walked to the back, Jiang Shan called out again. Yang Cheng, don't be in such a hurry to leave. I want to ask you something. Yang Cheng thought to himself, if you have something to say, just say it. I'm in a hurry to get intimate with your daughter. However, he still put on a gentle face and said, Auntie, what do you want to ask? Jiang Shan smiled a little embarrassedly and said, Isn't it because our Kai family has a relationship with the Yang family? I was planning to prepare a gift for old Master Yang. However, since Yonyan and Ning Er are going to spend time with Ruashi in the future as her legal wife, I should send something to Ruashi. Although I've known Ruashi since she was young, I'm not sure what she likes. I just wanted to ask you. When Yang Cheng heard that, he smiled bitterly. Forget it. Ruashi doesn't lack anything. Even if she doesn't lack anything, you still have to give her something. Jiang Shan said with some difficulty. I just called Ruashi. She didn't seem very happy when she heard about your matter. I want to help Ning Er and Yonyan build a good relationship with her. That way, it won't be too awkward when we meet in the future. When he heard that, Yang Cheng's eyeballs almost popped out. What did you say? Yang Cheng asked hoarsely. His expression instantly stiffened. Jiang Shan asked curiously, What's wrong? I said that Ruashi doesn't seem very happy. Sigh. But she's a woman. I understand. In these rich and powerful families, which wife doesn't verbally agree, but is secretly unhappy that her husband has other women. That's why I said that this military family is not bad. Men usually don't interact too much with women. Just like our old Kai. He doesn't have the luck, even if he had the guts. Yang Cheng almost knelt on the ground. This Jiang Shan could be considered his nemesis. She really could do anything. Although he had never thought of hiding the matter about the Kai sisters from Lin Ruashi, he couldn't let Sister Lin, who was in Zhonghai, know about all at once. What's worse was that through Jiang Shan's phone call, it would make it seem like he was deliberately hiding it from her, which would only make Lin Ruashi even more unhappy. Mom, why didn't you ask Yang Cheng first before making the decision? Choi Yun realized the seriousness of the situation and anxiously stomped her feet. Kai Ning also looked a little sad, but there was nothing she could do. Jiang Shan finally realized that something was wrong. After pondering for a while, she asked, Could it be that Ruashi still doesn't know about your relationship? Choi Yun couldn't be bothered to answer. She rolled her eyes and let out a long sigh. Jiang Shan hurriedly covered her mouth and sat back on the sofa, a little embarrassed. Yang Cheng sorted out his thoughts and turned to Kai Yunqing. General, why didn't you stop her? Kai Yunqing smiled bitterly. I was about to tell you just now. I wanted to stop her too, but before I could see, your mom called me. I only found out about it afterwards. But since it's the truth, you have to say it sooner or later. You chose this path yourself, so go and fill the hole yourself. It's over, it's over. Ruashi is going to hate me. I wanted to find a chance to apologize to her in person. Choi Yun screamed a little hysterically. Yang Cheng touched his forehead, wondering if he should give Lin Ruoshi a call. But thinking that the woman was in a fit of anger, he pretended that he didn't know anything for now. Fortunately, he was going to return to Zhonghai soon. He could only explain everything when he got there. Chapter 675. Looking at Jiang Shan, who was already pretending to seriously watch the news, Yang Cheng couldn't really do anything to his mother-in-law. He simply shook his head and sighed, then went back to the backyard to be alone. Kai Ning was also a little tired. Kai Ning looked rather tired as well. She pulled her depressed younger sister and left the living room with Yang Chun. After the three of them left, Kai Yunqing said to Jiang Shan, "Sai, you're really something. I reckon that Yang Cheng and our two daughters will have a headache for a while." Jiang Shan raised her head. Her guilty expression from before had completely disappeared. She snorted lightly and said with a rather complacent smile, "Do you really think your wife is a fool and has no brains? I can guess what happened to those young people. I knew that Yang Cheng wouldn't be so honest, so I made that call on purpose." Kai Yunqing was stunned. He opened his mouth and smiled bitterly. What should I say about you? Why do you have to do this?" "Why not?" Jiang Shan puffed out her chest and said, "As a mother, how can I not care about my daughter's lifelong happiness? Although Yang Cheng is the young master of the Yang family and can be considered a good match, our daughter is still his younger sister. If we don't help her, what if she gets pushed away by other women in the future? Just look at Yang Cheng's personality. He doesn't dare to stick out his chest in front of his wife. We have to make the first move. We must not act like a third party. We must be open and above board, and take the initiative." Kai Yunqing patted the armrest of the sofa and said, "You make it sound like a war. Although Yang Cheng isn't a man who dares to be too domineering, he won't be so easily changed by you. That kid looks easy to talk to, but his heart is definitely set by himself. You can't cross his bottom line. No matter what we do, the position of the real daughter-in-law of the Yang family is already Ruoshi's. Don't be too demanding. I believe that with old Yang's personality, he definitely won't mistreat his grandson's woman." Jiang Shan smiled and said, "I know that, and I don't really intend to touch Ruoshi's position. However, we have two daughters after all, and sisterly love is obvious. Even if her looks aren't as good as Ruoshi's, she might not be inferior when we're together. As long as we help her a little, she will definitely get more attention. Speaking of which, we watched Ruoshi grow up. But after all, it concerns the happiness of Yonyan and Ning, as well as the closeness of the Kai family and the Yang family. We have to fight for it." Kai Yunqing crossed his legs and took a sip of tea. "Since it has come to this, do as you wish. I have really underestimated your thoughts." Jiang Shan snorted and smiled in disdain. "Old Kai, stop pretending. We've been husband and wife for almost 30 years, and we've slept together. I can guess what you're thinking with just a blink of an eye. Do you think I don't know what you're thinking? If you wanted to stop me from making that phone call, why couldn't you? You're clearly letting me make the call on purpose. That's also what you're thinking in your heart. You just want to borrow my hand. Don't argue with me. You're just like that." Kai Yunqing's face instantly turned awkward when his disguise was exposed. He rubbed his chin and smiled. "Madam, you're wise. I'm just thinking for the big picture and for my daughter." Yang Cheng naturally didn't hear the conversation between the two-faced couple in the living room. In fact, it had already happened, and he didn't care if the couple did it on purpose or not. After returning to the backyard, the silent Kai Ning went back to her room first, while Yang Cheng and Choi Yun went back to her room together. Sitting on the edge of Choi Yun's bed, Yang Cheng didn't say anything. Instead, he fell into deep thought, thinking about what to do next. Seeing that Yang Cheng was thinking, Choi Yun quietly tidied up the room and took a change of clothes into the bathroom to wash up. After a while, Yang Cheng still couldn't think of a way to calm Lin Ruoshi down. Instead, he thought about how Mo Qianyi and Ma Guifang were doing after leaving Zhonghai for a few days. Yang Cheng thought that perhaps Ma Guifang should have calmed down and Mo Qianyi's mood should have improved a lot. Hence, he picked up his phone and dialed Mo Qianyi's number. He wanted to discuss with her how to convince her mother after returning to Zhonghai. After the call connected, it was picked up after a few beeps. "Why did you call me?" Mo Qianyi's voice sounded a little weak, but it was obvious that she was quite happy. Yang Chung could imagine how hard it must have been for this woman. She wasn't like him, who was thick-skinned and big-hearted. He said tenderly, "Although I've been thinking about you and me, I didn't dare to call you casually. I wanted to call you when you're better. How are you? Are you feeling better?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Imo Chinny smiled. "There's been a lot of work at the company recently. I can forget a lot of things when I'm at work. I just got home and was about to have dinner. You." Before Imo Chinny could continue, Ma Guifeng's voice suddenly came from the other side of the phone. "It's Yang Chung, right? Are you trying to piss me off to death? How many times have I told you? You're not allowed to contact him anymore." Ma Guifeng shouted loudly. She snatched the phone from Imo Chinny's hand and shouted at Yang Chung. "Yang Chung, I'm warning you again. I definitely won't allow the two of you to be together. Do you hear me? If you continue to be like this, I won't agree even if I bring the girl back to my hometown. Don't call me anymore." Before Yang Chung could react, Ma Guifeng had already hung up the phone. Yang Chung was disappointed. He didn't expect Ma Guifeng's emotions to be so strong. It seemed like he could only go back to Zhonghai and find her face to face. Calling her would only make things more difficult for Imo Chinny. Looking at the date displayed on the phone, Yang Chung muttered to himself, "It's time to go back." At this moment, the bathroom door opened. Choi Yun had finished showering. She simply wrapped a white towel around her and walked out barefoot on the floor. "Don't sit there in a daze. Hurry up and take a shower." Choi Yun used a towel to wipe her wet shoulder-length black hair and said with a smile. Yang Chung greedily searched the woman's towel and perky parts and said with a smile, "That's true. It's more important to collect the gift first." After saying that like a gust of wind, he rushed to Choi Yun's side, kissed her on the cheek, and immediately ran into the bathroom to take a shower. After taking a cold shower, Yang Chung put those irritating questions to the back of his mind. He was too lazy to wear any underwear, so he directly wiped his body and ran into the boudoir. As soon as he left the bathroom, the scene in front of him made Yang Chung feel a little hot in his nose, and there was a tendency for his nose to bleed. He saw that Choi Yun, who was still wearing a bath towel a moment ago, had actually changed her clothes at some point. What was even more frightening was that this outfit was actually a police uniform. At this time, Choi Yun was wearing a pair of lemon-colored crystal high heels. Her rose-red lace stockings outlined her two slender thighs. The short skirt of the police uniform only reached above her knees, and further up, the chest of the dark green police uniform was actually unbuttoned. Yang Chung could clearly see that Choi Yun was wearing the same rose-red lace lingerie. That deep ravine, because of the light refraction, was suffused with a halo of ivory. Choi Yun also had the intention to throw caution to the wind. She shyly lowered her head and didn't dare to raise her head to look at Yang Chung. She mumbled, just now in the car, "I said that I want to give you a gift. Do you like this gift?" Although Yang Chung had always fantasized about making Choi Yun wear a police uniform to do it with him, he didn't expect that this woman would really take the initiative to do so. Moreover, she was only wearing lace inside. The rose-red color formed a strong visual impact with Choi Yun's delicate skin. The valiant and heroic bearing of a woman's charm suddenly bloomed in an instant. Yang Chung felt that a certain part of him was about to explode. He wailed like a ghost and howled like a wolf as he pounced on her. He used the simplest action to answer Choi Yun's question. Choi Yun felt like she was a small boat in the wind and waves. She didn't know how she was hugged by Yang Chung, but she was pressed down on the soft bed. The police uniform at her chest was pulled open, and a pair of plump and bouncy breasts popped out. Although Choi Yun's figure wasn't as plump as Tang Wan's, because of work and training, it was especially tight and elastic. The touch was also different. "You, be gentler." Choi Yun twisted her body. She felt Yang Chung kissing and nibbling on her sensitive parts. She was happy and shy at the same time. Her eyes were watery, and she said in a daze. Yang Chung didn't care so much. He directly kissed Choi Yun's cherry lips. His saliva was dark, and he kissed Choi Yun so hard that she almost couldn't breathe. His two hands plundered the high ground in front of the woman's chest. After enjoying it for a while, he helped Choi Yun's lower body up. With her back facing him, he lifted the short skirt of the police uniform. Suddenly, The solemn atmosphere of the police uniform and the rose-colored lace panties wrapped around her perky buttocks, as well as the slightly bulging area. The sharp contrast made Yang Cheng's blood boil again. It was as if a tendon in his brain was about to snap. She turned her head with difficulty. Seeing Yang Cheng staring at her, Choi Yun whimpered, "Don't look at me like that. Take it off first." Yang Cheng laughed and said, "What are you taking off? You're wearing it tonight. You're not allowed to take it off. You have to wear it even when you're asleep." Choi Yun wanted to crawl under the bed, but she was already wearing it, so she could only let this man play. However, she made up her mind to not use this kind of trick in the future. Just by looking at the wild flames in Yang Cheng's eyes, Choi Yun knew that she wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. Before Choi Yun could think about it, a hot torrent poured into her body. Her mind went blank, and she couldn't think about anything. Chapter 676. After a night of red cherry blossoms and green willows, Yang Cheng felt refreshed when he woke up the next morning. It was as if the serious family and relationship problems he faced were no big deal. When he walked to the living room, Kai Yunqing, his wife, and his sister, Kai Ning, were already eating. When they saw Yang Cheng come out alone, the three of them had strange expressions on their faces. Kai Ning blushed unnaturally, but she didn't say anything and continued to eat. Jiang Shan was the one with the biggest smile. "Yang Cheng, you must be tired. Eat more. Don't mistreat your body when you're young." Ahem. Kai Yunqing glared at his wife. How could she say that so openly? Fortunately, Yang Cheng was a thick-skinned person. He knew that they had heard Choi Yun scream last night, so he sat down and took a bite of a scallion bun. "Don't think that I don't have a lot of meat on my body. I'm actually very strong. Auntie, don't worry." Ahem. 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 Kai Yunqing didn't cough on purpose this time. He choked on Yang Cheng's words. Jiang Shan covered her mouth and giggled. She didn't forget to put 2 poached eggs in Yang Cheng's bowl. Yang Cheng moved closer to Kai Ning and smiled strangely. "Ning there's actually a lot of free time at night. Do you want to play together next time?" Kai Ning forced herself to calm down. She picked up the vegetable bun in her hand and stuffed it into Yang Cheng's mouth. "Hurry up and eat." Yang Cheng ate the vegetable bun in 2 big bites and grinned. TSK, TSK. A vegetable bun eaten by a beauty taste special. Kai Ning also stuffed the bun in her hand in a panic. Only then did she realize that she had eaten a few bites of the bun. She couldn't help but blush and want to hide under the table. Jiang Shan saw this and smiled even more happily. "Oh, I've never seen my baby girl blush like this. You're different now that you have a boyfriend." Kai Ning couldn't stay any longer. She put down the chopsticks in her hand, got up, and ran back to her room in a panic. "Hey, Ning you haven't finished eating yet," Jiang Shan shouted, but she couldn't stop her. She could only shake her head and follow her eldest daughter with a smile. Kai Yunqing sighed helplessly. A grown girl can't be kept at home. The old saying is true. Even after breakfast, Kai Yin didn't step out of her room. In the end, Jiang Shan had to take the initiative to send some food in, which made Kai Yunqing roll his eyes in displeasure. Yang Cheng also told Kai Yunqing that he would return to Zhonghai today. He had already dealt with the matters in Yanjin, and it wasn't the right time for him to deal with them. Kai Yunqing naturally understood what Yang Cheng meant. He also knew that it was up to Yang Cheng whether he wanted to stay or leave, so he didn't ask much. Choi Yun was still on vacation, and she planned to spend a few more days with her family in Beijing. Kai Ning didn't have any important tasks, and she didn't need to monitor Yang Cheng anymore. She planned to spend more time with her family. Yang Cheng didn't forget to remind Kai Yunqing not to assign any dangerous tasks to Kai Ning. Kai Yunqing was satisfied and agreed. He thought that if there were any difficult problems, he could use the excuse that Kai Ning couldn't do it to help Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng also knew Kai Yunqing's plan, but since he had snatched Kai Yunqing's daughters away, it wasn't a bad idea to give him some benefits. On the other hand, Tang Wan and her daughter would return to Zhonghai in 2 days. After all, the National College entrance examination would start next month, so Yang Cheng didn't have to bid farewell. Tang Wan and Tang Tang were visiting around to pave the way for their daughter's future, so they didn't have much time to chat with Yang Cheng. Before leaving, Yang Cheng went to the entertainment company to take a look. He was worried about the cooperation between Hui Lin and the team. There were still many reporters and paparazzi waiting outside the company, unwilling to leave. They were waiting for the international music masters to come in and out so they could take some photos and dig up some new information. Hui Lin and the rest of the team were busy preparing for the release of the first album tomorrow and the day after. In order to maintain a sense of mystery, even the poster was not officially released. It would be absolutely unreasonable to put this on other singers. After all, it was not conducive to publicity. But now, Hui Lin didn't have to worry about publicity. With a series of actions that shocked the entire entertainment industry, the public was waiting to see what kind of album Hui Lin would release. When he entered the company, Hui Lin was having a meeting with the company's staff and some of the team members. The content was about the promotional tour and the release of the derivative songs in multiple languages. The music producers who had heard Hui Lin's voice all agreed that there was no doubt that Hui Lin would become popular. Be it her ability or appearance, she was too outstanding. Therefore, they were considering changing some of the songs into foreign lyrics so that they could enter the global market as soon as possible. Yang Qing didn't know much about the operation of the company. He entered the meeting room and briefly met with the staff. After giving them a few words of encouragement, he said goodbye and left. Although Hui Lin couldn't bear to leave, she felt that she was too busy with work. She had no choice but to ask Yang Cheng to send her greetings to her family. After leaving the company, Yang Cheng went straight to the airport. Because he didn't have much luggage, he was quite relaxed. He had booked the ticket last night when Choi Yun was resting. According to the time, he should be able to reach Zhonghai by dinner time. When he arrived at the airport, a member of the Green Dragon Society came to collect the Z4 BMW. Yang Cheng didn't expect that the member of the Green Dragon Society was a ground service staff at the airport. Lu Qingshan's minions were everywhere. As soon as he passed through the security check, Yang Cheng heard the announcement from the airport. A thunderstorm was coming. After all, it was May. Although it wasn't really summer, it was understandable that there would be a thunderstorm. However, it just had to come at this time. With such a disturbance, the departure of the plane would be delayed for a long time. This made Yang Cheng worried. Yang Cheng thought that he should use his cultivation to teleport back to Zhonghai. However, he didn't know why, but he felt a sense of uneasiness. He didn't dare to use his cultivation. When he teleported to the mountain with Yin Sanyang, he felt a sense of uneasiness. However, he didn't know what it was, so he didn't think too much about it. He didn't ask Yin Sanyang about it. Now, the feeling was even stronger. Yang Cheng realized that he was facing a situation that he didn't understand. Before he figured it out, it was better not to use too much of his cultivation. Since it was only noon, Yang Cheng found a Japanese ramen restaurant in the airport and ate his lunch. The thunderstorm continued and lightning flashed. This time, it lasted for almost 3 hours. Yang Cheng thought that the matter was over. However, there were too many passengers in the airport, so arranging the departure time and boarding time became a problem again. After so many troubles, it was already 8 o'clock at night when Yang Cheng's plane took off. Yang Cheng, who had eaten a few bowls of ramen in the airport, almost sang all the flavors of the ramen restaurant. Yang Cheng was glad that he didn't tell his family that he was going back to Zhonghai. Otherwise, he would feel sorry for the continuous delay. 2 hours later, Yang Cheng arrived at Zhonghai Airport. He took his car and drove home in the dark of the night. Although he had only been away for a few days, when he breathed in the familiar air and thought of the people in this city, Yang Cheng felt especially warm. He returned to China because of the death of 17 and the child in her belly. He was disheartened and wanted to live a peaceful life. Now that he had a home and a family, it was indeed a blessing from God. Half an hour later, Yang Cheng parked the car by the roadside outside the bungalow, but he didn't enter the house directly. Yang Cheng looked at the time. Fortunately, it was only 11 o'clock at night. After getting out of the car, he noticed that there were no passers-by around. His figure flashed and appeared on the balcony of Chiang Wei's house next door. Because there wouldn't be a thief around Chiang Wei's house, Chiang Wei didn't have the habit of locking the glass door. Yang Cheng opened the French door and walked softly to Chiang Wei's big bed. In the dark, the woman was covered with a thin silk quilt. Her black hair was scattered on the white pillow, and her enchanting face looked peaceful and quiet. She was sleeping soundly. It seemed that she didn't sleep too deeply. Subconsciously sensing something, Qianwei slowly opened her eyes. Her eyelashes trembled as she looked at the man standing in front of the bed. After seeing clearly and confirming that she wasn't dreaming, Qianwei propped herself up from the bed in surprise. "Hubby, aren't you in Beijing? Why are you back? When did you arrive?" Yang Cheng smiled gently and sat on the edge of the bed. He reached out to stroke Qianwei's messy hair. "I just arrived. There was a thunderstorm in Beijing, and I waited from noon to night. I finally made it back." Qianwei was slightly stunned. "Why did you wait for so long? Since there was a thunderstorm, couldn't you just change your flight ticket? Did you have something urgent to attend to?" Yang Qing's expression became solemn. He nodded. "It's very serious. I have to come back before midnight." "What is it?" Qianwei was also worried. "I knew it. Why did you run to me as soon as you came back? Do you need my help?" Yang Qing looked at Qianwei with a complicated expression. He sighed deeply and reached out to hold Qianwei's hand, pulling the woman's soft body into his embrace. The fragrance of her delicate body brought with it a dry warmth. Yang Cheng leaned against the back of Qianwei's neck and took a deep breath of the sweet air. Qianwei hugged Yang Cheng's waist. She became more and more nervous as her heart wavered. "Qianwei, baby." Yang Cheng moved closer to Qianwei's ear and said softly, "Happy birthday." Chapter 677. These short 4 words caused the slightly nervous Qianwei to instantly freeze. After a long time, she finally separated from Yang Cheng's embrace. In the darkness, she looked at the man in front of her lovingly. Qianwei felt her voice was a little dry as she softly asked, You said that you have to be back before 12 o'clock. Is it because of this? What do you mean by just for this? This is very important. I remembered it when I was driving 2 nights ago, so I came back at the right time. Originally, I had enough time to buy a gift, but now it seems that I can only give myself to you as a gift tonight." Yang Cheng said with a brilliant smile. Qianwei's eyes were sparkling and a little moist. She didn't expect that Yang Cheng would specially wait at the airport for a long time and rush back under the stars and the moon just to say such a simple blessing to her. In fact, ever since Yang Cheng and Lin Ruoshi got married, Qianwei didn't expect to get much of a man's time. However, although she didn't say it out loud, her heart was quite sour. But at this moment, Qianwei felt that all that waiting was sweet. "Thank you, I'm myself. I forgot," Qianwei murmured. Yang Cheng touched Qianwei's cheek and said, "I met you when I first returned to the country. Even now, although I have many people who love me and my loved ones by my side, I only remember your birthday. I don't want to miss this day every year. After all, you're the one who accompanied me through my most depressed days. Why are you saying such sad words? Don't think about those things anymore, okay?" Qianwei wrapped her arms around Yang Cheng's neck and said gently. Yang Cheng patted the woman's back. "This is no big deal, but why do I feel that you've lost weight in the few days I've been here? You can't be thinking what I'm thinking, right?" Stop being so narcissistic." Qianwei said, "The atmosphere at home has been weird these days. It's all your fault. You made things so difficult for Qianni. I'm in a bad mood. I can't eat or sleep well. Of course I'm thin." Yang Cheng was stunned and then sighed. "I'm also worried. I plan to find time to talk to my mother-in-law. I definitely won't give up." Qianwei nodded. She seemed to have thought of something as she curiously asked, "Honey, you said that you only remember my birthday? What about Ruoshi?" Yang Cheng awkwardly touched his nose and smiled. I don't know about the others, but I think at least Ruoshi definitely doesn't like to mention things like her birthday." "Why?" Qianwei was puzzled. Yang Cheng shrugged. "It's a long story, darling, don't ask. Look at me running all the way back to congratulate you on your birthday. Don't you have anything to say?" Qianwei naturally understood what the man meant and said shyly, "It's better not. Right now, Anima is also living on this floor, and Qianni is also here. They still don't know that you're back. It wouldn't be good if they would be woken up by the noise." Yang Cheng smiled evilly and said, "Don't worry about that. I guarantee that no one outside the room will be able to hear what's going on inside." "What a joke. Even if he was at the peak of the Xiantian realm, he could still use his Xiantian Zhenqi to control the sound waves within a certain range. With his current cultivation, doing such a small task was not even worth mentioning. It just depended on whether he was willing or not. Really? Qiang Wei asked hesitantly. Yangqing chuckled and said, What? It seems like Qiang Wei also wants it. Why do you look so expectant? I don't. The underworld queen looked like a little girl whose thoughts had been poked, and her dimples were blushing. Yangqing did not care so much. He directly pulled over the silk quilt and pressed Qiang Wei down on the bed, directly pressing on top of her. Then, the thin quilt flipped, and the sound of birds chirping could be heard. The night quietly slipped away in the thick sweetness of love. When the sky was bright in the morning, Yangqing kissed Qiang Wei, who was still half asleep, and flashed from the room to the parking lot. Yangqing did not want his family to know that he had gone to Qiang Wei's boudoir to sleep for a night before returning home during this critical period. He drove into the garage as if he had just returned home from the airport. When Yangqing entered his house, he happened to see the most familiar scene. Mother Wang was carrying porridge out of the kitchen, and at the dining table, Guo Xuehua and Jinxiu were already eating breakfast. Seeing that Yangqing had suddenly returned home, the three of them were slightly stunned, and only then did they reveal a happy smile. Child, why did you suddenly appear out of nowhere? Did you take a plane back so early in the morning? Guo Xuehua asked hurriedly. Yangqing nodded his head shamelessly and said, Since I've settled everything, I wanted to come back early. All right, why don't I see Ruoshi? Yangqing looked around and did not see Lin Ruoshi's figure. At this time, it should not be time for her to go to work. Jinxiu pouted and said, Big brother Yang is really a good husband. The moment he came home, he did not even greet us, and only thought of sister Ruoshi. Yangqing walked forward and pinched Jinxiu's delicate face. You're so nosy. Where's your sister Ruoshi? Jinxiu broke free from Yangqing's clutches and pointed to the stairs. She snorted and said, Isn't she coming down now? Lin Ruoshi was walking down the stairs from the second floor with light steps. Today, she did not wear the formal office suit that she usually wore. Instead, she wore a moon-white dress with a light yellow leather bow-tie belt under the round collar. On her upper body, she also wore a bright yellow knitted short-sleeve shirt, which set off the color of the skirt. Lin Ruoshi seemed to have slightly cut her beautiful hair short. Her fine black hair had smooth waves behind her. The hair was not vertical, which added a hint of a mature woman's charm to her originally elegant temperament. Although they had been together for a year, Yangqing still lost his mind for a while after not seeing each other for only a few days. It was not until Lin Ruoshi walked down the stairs that Yangqing swallowed his saliva. He cursed in his heart that he was indeed an animal. No wonder so many people disliked him marrying Lin Ruoshi. Sure enough, a good cabbage had been taken by a pig like him. Wife, I'm back. Yangqing went forward and said with a smile as flattering as possible. Lin Ruoshi acted as if she did not see anything. With a fragrant wind, she passed by Yangqing. Yangqing's smile was directed at the air. His movements were frozen like a statue. Lin Ruoshi quietly pulled out a chair and sat down. She smiled gently at Guo Xuehua and said, Good morning, Mom. Then, she smiled at Jinxiu and started eating. Yangqing turned around. His brows were relaxed, and his face was filled with melancholy. Guo Xuehua and Mother Wang could only look at him helplessly. On the other hand, Jinxiu covered her mouth and snickered, as if watching Yangqing being defeated was her special hobby. Ruoshi baby. Yangqing gathered his energy and pounced on the seat next to Lin Ruoshi again. He smiled and said, Did you miss me these days? I missed you when I was in Beijing. You don't know, but something happened to me and I was quite frustrated. At that time, I thought that if you were by my side, you would be able to help me come up with some ideas. Guess what it was? After Yangqing said a bunch of words, he looked at Lin Ruoshi expectantly. However, Lin Ruoshi turned a deaf ear to him. It was as if she had blocked out everything. She continued to eat her breakfast gracefully, as if Yangqing was air beside her. Yangqing sighed bitterly. Although he knew that Lin Ruoshi would not give him a good attitude, this was even worse than the Cold War. because Lin Ruashi could not even be bothered to fight. Everything had to be solved. There had to be a breakthrough. Yang Cheng felt that he had nowhere to use his strength. Previously, he had prepared a lot of explanations and fawning words. But now, it seemed that it was all in vain because he did not even have an opening. Yang Cheng scratched his head and said with a bitter smile, "Ruashi, I know you must hate me in your heart. But we have to communicate if there's a problem. We can't just keep it in our hearts. You can hit me and scold me, but let's not talk and play like air, okay?" Lin Ruashi suddenly raised her head, but she looked at Mother Wang and said, "Mother Wang, cook noodles tomorrow. I'm a little tired of eating porridge every day." Yang Cheng almost fell to the ground. Although he was in the wrong in the first place, this disregard was too thorough. Wang Ma looked at Yang Cheng with pity in her eyes, but still agreed with a smile. "All right, miss, I'll cook your favorite pickled cabbage noodles for you to eat tomorrow." "Okay." Lin Ruashi nodded and put down her chopsticks. She picked up her bag and said, "I don't have a good appetite, so I won't eat. I'm going to work." "You only ate so little. Do you want to bring some to the office?" Guo Xuehua said worriedly. Lin Ruashi shook her head slightly, then turned around and walked out of the door. Yang Cheng thought about blocking the door. This way, this woman would have to interact with him. But the trace of guilt in his heart prevented Yang Cheng from doing anything that might make Lin Ruashi feel even more repulsed. Staring at the beautiful figure walking out of the house, Yang Cheng touched his face in distress, raised his head, and let out a long sigh. At this time, Guo Xuehua glared at Yang Cheng and said, "You bad boy. How could you cause so much trouble just by going to Beijing? Serves Ruashi right for ignoring you. Anyone would be pissed to death, but Ruashi is so calm. It's hard on this child. You, when will you be able to keep your heart in check?" Yang Cheng was surprised and asked, "Mom, you know what happened?" "Of course." Guo Xuehua rolled her eyes and said, "Your aunt called me and told me everything. You're so famous. You made such a big fuss the moment you came to Beijing. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to do well with your temper, but I didn't expect the Li and Tang families to be related to you. Your aunt also said that the Yang family has a successor and that I gave birth to a good son. What a good son. I can't stop worrying for a moment." "Aunt? What are you talking about?" Yang Cheng was stunned. "Yali, Guiyali." Guo Xuehua sighed. "I knew about what you did in Beijing before Ruashi did. I didn't expect that Jiang Shan from the Kai family would play such a dirty trick. She even called Ruashi. But you deserve to be treated this way. This time, you have to think of a way to communicate with Ruashi. Mom can't help you." Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So it was Yongye's mother. He had forgotten that he had met Li Xin and Guiyali. And it was hard for him to think of such a term in his life. Now that he had so many family members around him, as well as relatives that he had met and not met, it was a complete change. But there were also many things that gave him headaches. "Aunt Guo, what's the matter?" Jinxiu asked in puzzlement. Guo Xuehua poked Jinxiu's forehead. "You little girl, quickly finish your breakfast and go to school. Don't bother about adult matters. It's almost a national college entrance examination and you're still gossiping." Jinxiu pouted and didn't ask any more questions. Mother Wang hesitated for a while and said gently, "Young master, although I'm not sure what's going on, young miss seems to be angrier than before. In the past, when the two of you quarreled, she would treat you coldly. But this time, there's no change at all. The more it's like this, the more worried I am." Yang Cheng's scalp went numb because of this. This situation was more terrifying than the Cold War. But for a moment, Yang Cheng didn't know what to do to appease Lin Ruashi without angering her. He could only say, "I'll go to work first. I'll think of a solution." Guo Xuehua hurriedly said, "Hey son, aren't you going to eat breakfast too?" Ruashi said she has no appetite. "If I still have an appetite, then wouldn't I be stupid?" Yang Cheng said weakly and went out the door. Guo Xuehua watched Yang Cheng leave and sighed. "You have always been stupid.